What's up, everybody? Welcome to Crunch Time. I'm Jack Barber. Pilot episode, I guess you could say. Here with my boys, Matt Verleur, Yusuf. Gonna get it kicked off. First episode, we're gonna do a mock draft, and I just want to remind everybody: NFL Draft 2021 kicks off Thursday, April 29th, 8 p.m. on the NFL Network and ESPN. Goes up until Saturday, May 1st. So here's what we're gonna do. First episode. Like I just said, we're going to do a little mock draft. So here's how it's going to go down. We're going to go on 5-player rounds. So we're going to start out. I'm going to name my first 5 draft picks. Yusuf's going to name his first 5 draft picks. Matt's going to name his first 5. That's kind of how it's going to go. It's just going to go that way and so on every 5. Maybe we'll do when we get back down to pick 25, we'll just do 7 at the end, just to round out those last 2 teams. So I have my gospel right here. I'm sure you guys have your picks. You've done your analyses. So, yeah, I guess I'll get started. Before that, you guys can introduce yourselves if you want. Let's talk about us, talk about what we're excited for. Excited to be here. Yusuf, start with you.
All right. Well, I'm most excited for this draft and this podcast that you, me, Jack, and a few others are making. Because with this mock draft, this is something we're never gonna see, because it basically starts at round the 3rd pick. We already know the first 2, and basically it all starts for the 49ers. Who are they gonna select? How the dominoes are gonna fall. Matt, you have any comments?
Yeah, this is a great draft. I think it's gonna be a lot of movement in this draft. Like you said, pick 3, starting with the Niners, it's going to be crazy, especially with that pick 4. If Atlanta moves it, who gets trades up and gets a quarterback? It's going to be exciting. I can't wait. Finally, stuff's starting to feel normal again. And this NFL draft, which is going to be hosted in Ohio, is going to help, feel like that too. So it's going to be exciting.
I agree, man. Absolutely. Freaking last year was weird. I did not like that whole virtual stuff, seeing all these guys sitting at home. It's like Roger Goodell, sitting in his living room, oh, yeah, here's this guy. Come on. I want to hear, the boos. I want to hear those Jets fans crying over whoever they pick. We know it's going to be Zach Wilson. Oh, sorry. I guess I gave that away. But you all knew that was coming. It's the 2nd pick. Everybody knew they were taking him. So I guess I'm going to kick us off right now. Obviously, speaking of that, number 1 pick, Jacksonville Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence. Did we have any doubts? I don't think so. He's the obvious number 1. He's been destined to be the number 1 pick for the past 2 years at Clemson. The dude, what hasn't he? This dude has won his entire life. He's won 2 high school state titles at Cartersville State. He holds just so many records at Georgia, and a lot of them used to belong to Deshaun Watson. Just want to point that out. Every single year of his college career, he made the college football playoff. And his only losses in his college career were in the playoff against Alabama and Ohio State last year. 34-2 record at Clemson. The numbers are off the charts. This dude, I don't know if we've seen a quarterback prospect this exciting. I really can't even name a time. I've been watching the NFL since 2009. I can't name a single time that I've seen a guy this exciting, or this guy who I'm maybe Joe Burrow last year, but honestly, Trevor Lawrence has been hyped up since 2018. I'm so ready to see him play. So he's great at reading defensive schemes. It's just going to be fun to watch him play for the Jaguars if, that offensive line holds up. And they got to work on receivers and getting him some weapons in the later round, because there is not a lot going on over there right now. Pick number 2, I guess I spoiled it for myself and everyone else, Zach Wilson. He's also gotten a lot of comparisons to another guy with the last name Wilson. Plays for Seattle. Just got turned down a $300 million deal or something for Chicago. Ton of draft picks. That dude's stuck there. But anyway, drawing a lot of comparisons. I actually watched some of his highlighted tape last night. And this dude actually does really well out of the pocket, I noticed. And BYU, it's more of I don't want to say an option offense, but they do run a lot of play action. He excels in play action, by the way. I was looking at him last night. He's really underrated in play action, excels out of the pocket. He had a great pro day, probably the best pro day out of all the QBs that we saw. Well, maybe Lawrence, but we all know how Mac Jones did with that. Everybody's talking about that one overthrow. But anyway, dude's got wheels too. So if you're playing for the Jets, we all know. I don't blame Sam Darnold for the performance that the Jets had last year in those 16 games. I really think they just couldn't protect him. And he's a pocket passer, So I think he's going to be a better fit in Carolina, but we're not talking about that right now. We're talking about Zach Wilson. 43 touchdowns, 3 interceptions last season. Heisman candidate. Dude's going to go off, I think, if the Jets can build around him. And they have another pick coming. We're going to talk about that too. So anyway, pick 3. 49ers, they traded up. This one might surprise you guys. I've been hearing it all week. See, I had the advantage of working at Dick's Sporting Goods. They got ESPN on all the time. And all the analysts are saying, this was mostly last week, but I still believe this. Mac Jones with the 3rd pick. I think he could fit really well in Kyle Shanahan's system. That's what everybody's telling me. That's what I've seen. He had a lot of weapons at Alabama. And I think that that's the one thing about him where, maybe he's a little unproven. He had great protection when he was playing for Alabama. So I think he's kind of still a little green. I think he still hasn't really gotten his feet wet as far as, kind of being under pressure because he just buzzsawed through everybody this past season. Notre Dame, Ohio State. This dude never really faced a challenge. So, I mean, I really think he's just a lock for San Francisco. I feel bad for Jimmy G because I don't think he's a bad quarterback, but he's just too injury prone, and you're not going to make it in this league if you can't stay healthy. Yeah, but like I said, the only problem for him, he's going from, Devontae Smith and Jalen Waddle to friggin' Trent Sherfield and, do they even still have Mostert? No. Yeah, Deebo Samuel. So, it should be a bit of a challenge for him, but if everybody's, correct about how he'll work in that system, I think he'll be all right. Now, pick 4, we got a trade up. Supposed to be the Atlanta Falcons. The New England Patriots making a deal. I see them trading up, getting the number 4 pick. It's a very QB heavy for first 5 picks that I got because I got them taking Justin Fields. Now, let me tell you a little something about Justin Fields. I do not like Ohio State quarterbacks purely based on their history. You got to agree with me there. Braxton Miller, Cardale Jones, Troy Smith, Dwayne Haskins. Thank you. Like freaking going to strip clubs and stuff. And even when he wasn't that good anyway. Honestly, it was a blood. I don't know why the Redskins started him after like the first 3 games. He didn't prove himself on the field. I would have taken Kyle Allen or Alex Smith any day above him. But yeah, so I mean, I could go on and on. Out of all those Ohio State quarterbacks I just mentioned, including Terrell Pryor was the most successful one that we've seen in the past 20 years. And his best season as an NFL pro wasn't even as a QB. It was that 1,000-yard receiving season that he had when he was playing for Cleveland in 2016. So I just don't trust Ohio State quarterbacks in an NFL system. I think he's got the best shot out of any of those guys just based on his numbers and I think he's gained the most attention out of those guys. But that also leads me to saying, the Patriots are a very run-friendly team now. It's weird. Like Belichick was trying to change up everything last year with the addition of Cam Newton. But Cam Newton's old. This dude's in his mid-30s now. It's really sad to see. I've been watching this guy play since 2011 with the Panthers. I loved Cam Newton. I saw him play live in 2015 against the Giants, his MVP year. The dab and all that, but you know what? The guy's past his prime. It's obvious. He only threw 2 touchdowns at Gillette Stadium last year. So I think that Justin Fields could work well in this Patriots new, kind of weird rushing scheme that they got going on. Anyway, pick 5, Cincinnati Bengals. There's just no other option for them besides an O-lineman. They had the worst offensive line in the NFL last season statistically, and if you just watch them on the field, Joe Burrow's too young to be getting injuries like he did last year. If you want this guy to have a successful NFL career, you got to keep him protected. And who better to keep him protected than Paris Sewell out of Oregon, offensive tackle. This guy, I looked at his rankings on CBSSports.com. This guy, clearly the best offensive lineman in the draft. So, I mean, it's a start. You got to get a line of 5 out there, but, you got to start somewhere. And I think this guy's a great fit in there. He would be a great fit. He allowed 1 sack in 2 seasons in 2018 and 2019. Opted out in 2020, but he did great in 20. He did great in those 2 seasons. So, yeah, those are my first 5. If you guys got any thoughts, please, love to hear them.
Now, I definitely agree with you with those first 2 picks. Trevor Lawrence, he's incredible. He's been talked about since the past 4 years. He's the true freshman coming out of going into Clemson, and I feel like the Jaguars won't pass up. Like Urban, even they got a head coach with Urban Meyer, and this is like a huge stepping stone for that franchise. But going in at number 2 for Zach Wilson, this is definitely like a very financial flexible move, especially for the general manager. Like Zach Wilson, of course, a lot of people say he may be a one-year wonder, especially like from the Mitch Trubisky type day from Chicago. Everybody's saying it might be another one. But I feel like this guy has more upside than that. He's very mobile, he's a gunslinger. He's very good. He has an arm like a Patrick Mahomes arm. I'm hearing comparisons of Patrick Mahomes. But I feel like the Jets won't pass up on Zach Wilson. Now, for the number 3 pick, the 49ers, I believe they would take Justin Fields. Because only due to the fact that Justin Fields, he has more upside and that more potential. Like, of course, he's a mobile quarterback, but I feel like there's more to it that we're not seeing. A little bit more leadership, more polished than the predecessor Mac Jones that I keep hearing constantly about. But that's pretty much a wait and see type of thing. But I feel like he would mesh pretty well with Shanahan's new offense. Now, for that number 4 pick, I actually have the Atlanta trading it, but not to the Patriots, but to the Broncos. Now, the Broncos who they pick here is Trey Lance. Now, hear me out. The Broncos already.
No. I saw the tape. I like Trey Lance. Yeah, I like Trey Lance.
I agree.
Very smart quarterback.
I agree. But the thing is, the Broncos are dismantled at quarterback, especially last season. From their starter to their second to their third, they had to go from their wide receiver turned quarterback to play a game. And I feel like Trey Lance here will give them that stability. Now, with number 5, we should all agree the Bengals, they do need a line, especially if they want Joe Burrow as their franchise quarterback. I have Penei Sewell from Oregon going in as number 5. Honestly, if it wasn't so quarterback heavy, I feel like he would have been number 2, number 1. Matt, you have any?
I like everything you got. I do have Trey Lance going to Denver. Not in the top 5, though. He falls for me. I think he falls in the draft. I think people are a little bit skeptical of how he is with him, not having that much tape to go off of. But he's a very smart quarterback. He knows how to run a huddle. I really like him. Not in the top 5. I have somebody else trading up to number 4 on the top 5. But everything else, I think is really good, spot on.
See, now I understand Trey Lance to Denver. Like, it makes sense. I mean, obviously, Denver, the quarterback situation isn't great in Denver. I get that. The only thing I got to say is Drew Lock. I mean, he's had 2 completely different seasons, and everybody's so quick to give up on Drew Lock. I'm still thinking, give this dude one more shot. My other thing, get a QB in free agency. So that you're not having, your 3rd string running back starting games at QB in case you get into an emergency situation. But you got to give this guy another shot. I mean, he was a high rated draft pick coming out in 2019. He went 4-1 in his first 5 games as a starter. And I mean, it was only 5 games, but at the same time, I mean, he still had a positive touchdown to interception ratio. It wasn't pretty, but and I mean, he had Jerry Jeudy, so you can't make a ton of excuses for him. But I'm just saying, if you build around him, you can't just give up on a guy in 2 years. That's just not unless he does something.
Peyton Manning, they're doing off-season workouts this year.
Yeah, I mean, give him another shot. I mean, I've seen Trey Lance's tape, but I also saw some of the downside to him. He's not super accurate right now. I mean, he's not in the league yet, but he overthrows a lot of passes, which surprised me after I saw that he went 28-0 in his touchdown to interception ratio, which is crazy, by the way. But then again, it's Division I. It's not the same as the FBS. But yeah, I mean, I can see Trey Lance going there, but I just think you got to give Locke another shot.
Now,
That's just my philosophy.
Now I understand with Drew Lock, but I feel like the injuries just riddled him to the point where he's not in form anymore. That's why I feel Trey Lance going there for the 4th pick with the Broncos would be subside, because that kid's just an athlete. Like, he's basically a Cam Newton that basically can just truck through anything. He's basically billed as like a borderline like Julio Jones, like wide receiver type. Like, he can take some hits where I see with Drew Lock, like he takes a hit and all of a sudden he's riddled with injuries. And I'm just waiting for the.
But I think with Drew Lock, a lot of it's maturity. I think, are you mature enough to play the quarterback position? He has the talent. Can you be mature enough to run an NFL franchise? That's it with me. I like Drew Lock, but I don't see the maturity that he's going to be able to take this team into January. That's just for me.
No, you know what? I agree. All right, let's move on to pick 6 through 10 right now. So we got the you didn't do your top 5? My bad. I thought we were like we all had the first 2.
It's only one. It's only one.
Go for it, man. Go for it.
But I do gotta hate on you for getting on my man Justin Fields. I know Ohio State quarterbacks, Alabama quarterbacks, and Ohio State is like the gray zone for quarterbacks. And I know Trevor Lawrence is all world. I still have nightmares when he gashed my team. I forget what year that was. I think it was
2019. That was a great game, though. That was a great game.
Terrible game for me. But Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, who they compared to Aaron Rodgers, who can throw it, but can you throw it? When you have 1 yard of an error to throw it at, when you have a defender in your face. I'm not really going to get excited about a pro day. Yes, he's talented. Every quarterback is talented. Mr. Trubisky could probably do that in a wide open setting with no wind, no defenders in his face. I actually have Justin Fields, like Yusuf, going to the Niners. I think Mac Jones falls. I think he actually goes to New England at 4. I think they trade up to get him, and I think Penei Sewell goes to the Bengals at 5.
All right. I'm glad we can all at least agree on, Penei Sewell, of all things, and the first 2, because, they were kind of locks in. But, yeah. No, I get that. I'm not going to be a hater about it. I've seen the track record with OSU quarterbacks. I like OSU. I'm a Notre Dame guy, so I hate Michigan. So the enemy and my enemy is my friend. I like OSU. But
he's the most talented. You can't doubt that. He's the most talented that's probably come out of that school.
Out of that school in the past 20 years, I absolutely agree with you. I think he's got the best shot of being successful. But, there were a lot of big – Troy Smith, big name. Same thing with all these other guys. Cardale Jones, I never really expected him to be anything much. But JT Barrett, I felt bad for him. He never really got, a real shot. And I like JT Barrett. I don't know. He was like a good pocket. He was like a good pocket passer, like traditional quarterback who never really had a chance. Did he even go to the CF? Like, where is he? Where is this guy? Where is this guy now?
I think I saw him at Walmart.
Oh, really?
But let me say this. If you want to talk about 10 years ago with Justin Fields not being successful, I got you on that. But now, in a more college-centric NFL offense, I think he's in the best situation. If he goes to a Niners with Kyle Shanahan, to succeed. Sit for a year, sit for a second year, come in the third year. I think Justin Fields with the Niners is a great situation, can maximize his talent. Yes, he's going to be in a tough division, but when you have Kyle Shanahan, you have that O-line, you have decent receivers, with probably in the future getting more for him. And you're always going to have a good running scheme with Kyle Shanahan. He can scheme a running game. I think with that, Justin Fields is a very talented quarterback. I think he'll be the best quarterback to come in the NFL draft just because of situation. Because I do not like Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville. I hate that. I hate that they could potentially ruin his career like Andrew. So that's why I like Justin Fields a lot if he goes to the Niners. I think it's a great situation.
I understand that. It's the rules, though, man. Freaking best QBs got to go to the worst teams. It's sad. It's sad. I know. It's sad. They didn't really build a line around him either, which was unfortunate. And he had those shoulder injuries starting in 2015, 2016. It was sad. All right. We also put those first 5. All right. So number 6. I know you said before this, you said you could see the Dolphins moving up pretty nicely. You said that good job in the draft. And I agree with that with the first 2 picks. And actually, the way that my mock draft worked out, I think the Dolphins stole the whole thing. And it's going to start out. This might be a surprise pick number 6 because you don't hear a lot about running backs going in this early. But Najee Harris at number 6. I see you.
Number 6.
It is a risky pick, but let me tell you right now. Who do they have? But who do they have in the backfield right now? They failed on the Aaron Jones sweepstakes. He's staying in Green Bay. And they need a better first option than Malcolm Brown. He only got 1,000 yards in his first 6 seasons in LA with the Rams. And granted, a lot of that was spent as a backup to Todd Gurley, but I never really liked looking at Malcolm Brown when it came to his game. I don't trust him as a number 1. Myles Gaskin's a good backup, but these guys are not perennial number 1 running backs. I never really understood the notion of why can't a running back go high in the draft? They're an extremely important skill position. Look at Barkley at number 2. I mean, sure, he's injury prone, but that was a pick that you can understand. So, I mean, I don't know. I just see, yeah, exactly. I think Harris, Heisman contender last season. I see it. I watched that Alabama game against Notre Dame. He cooked, and I don't know. I just see him doing great things I just see him fitting in the Miami scheme too. It's a little unorthodox compared to other running back schemes. Miami's one of those teams that I see they don't do a lot of pocket passing. They do a lot of option plays, things like that, especially now the Tua's there. So I don't know. I just see Najee Harris as being a good fit in Miami. And I think that he was going to go in the first round regardless. So you might as well pick him up before it's too late. So, I mean, if you guys got thoughts on that,
all right. So
love to hear him.
This is where I'm gonna have to disagree with you, because at my number 6, I have a man of 6'6", 240 pounds, Kyle Pitts. I'm sorry, but Kyle Pitts is too much to pass up. He's a versatile tight end that can basically almost play wide receiver. That's basically if the Dolphins had a choice, even they can go find another wide receiver if they don't agree with Kyle Pitts playing wide receiver. Even though he can just play tight end, he can play both of them. He's that rare unicorn that you can't pass up.
I see that, but at the same time, we're forgetting about Gesicki. And I'm not saying that Gesicki is in any league to Kyle Pitts, but this guy is a producer. He's a receiving tight end. I mean, look, I had Gesicki on one of my fantasy teams last year. I was satisfied by his numbers. I don't know how he is that much of as a blocker, but I do know for a fact he can get the numbers in production. So I just think it would kind of be an insult to him. I don't really think that they have a need at tight end right now. I get what you're saying, and I think that what you're looking at is more of get one of the most skilled players in the draft. And you're right. I think that you could flex him at a wide receiver. And I do not like that Dolphins receiving core at all when, Devontae Parker is, your best option.
But see, that's what makes him a unicorn. That's what makes him beautiful. You can place him into that wide receiver core. And then not only that, you have another pick where you can draft another wide receiver. So you're building up depth in your wide receiver core, plus putting depth into your tight end depth.
Breaking news. Kyle Pitts is beautiful. He is a beautiful unicorn. He is going to the Miami Dolphins, according to some analysts.
Please, Ravens, trade all your picks. Get Kyle Pitts. Trade our next 3 first-round picks. I need him with Lamar.
You need him with Lamar?
I need him. Him and Mark Andrews. I don't know how. Just do it.
Could be a dominant dude. See, though, I always thought of the tight end position, you can have one really good one, but the other guy, you need one really good receiving tight end, and you need another guy who's more oriented towards just blocking. I don't really think that you need 2 receiving tight ends. We haven't really seen that combo in the NFL since Hernandez and Gronkowski. So I mean, it's been proven. It's Kelsey does it all on his own. Gronkowski obviously didn't need Aaron Hernandez because they started winning all them Super Bowls after stuff I don't really want to get into with Aaron Hernandez. But I just don't really see the need for wide receivers I understand, but a 2 receiving tight end system, I don't know.
Can you pass on Kyle Pitts though? Can you really just pass on him?
I'm not saying pass on him. I'm not saying pass on him. I'm just saying
you gotta bite the bullet and do it.
They don't have the need to fill a tight end though. That's all that I'm saying.
Come on, it's Kyle Pitts. He can play receiver. You can switch his position.
He could play receiver. He could play receiver, but there's better pure receivers in the draft right now. You know what? I know it's a little unorthodox. We kind of made the rules clear before the show. I think we should go pick by pick. I think that's the best.
Pitts too.
You got Kyle Pitts?
I already know that behind my tone. Kyle Pitts.
All right. I could tell by your tone too. I'm like, yeah, this guy got Pitts.
Hey, once you didn't say Kyle Pitts, all bets were off at that point.
I saw all the heads go down. I'm like, this guy picked everybody's like, this guy picked Najee Harris. I knew that was going to be an unpopular opinion. Everybody's like, oh, why are you getting a running back so early? But you know what? I'm sticking to my guns. If I'm a GM, that's what I'm doing. It's a risky move, but you know what?
As a Giants fan, if you were picking number 6, would you get Kyle Pitts?
Nah, because we got Evan Ingram. We don't need Kyle Pitts.
Stonehands, you got Stonehands as your tight end.
Stonehands, he's one of the best. Okay, look, you can make that.
Tunyon of a Pro Bowl. He's good, but he robbed Tunyon of a Pro Bowl this year. And I had him on my fantasy team, so I always kept a close eye on him.
I agree that, but I had Evan Ingram on my fantasy team, and the only reason that people were saying that Evan Ingram has stone hands is because of that game in Philadelphia where he dropped that wide open pass. And I get that. Nobody was throwing more pillows at their TV than I was, or rocks and other stuff. Anything I could find, I was throwing at my TV. I hate the Eagles. I hate the Eagles so much, man, with all my heart. Seeing him drop that, and then seeing Boston Scott busted open in the next series to get him for the touchdown, that was sad. But you know what? I know who Evan Ingram is. He's a good tight end, and a tight end that I would not pass up on. Kyle Pitts is good, but you know what?
We caught the ball. He would have caught the ball in Philly.
I know he would have caught the. I know he would have caught the ball, but one-handed.
One-handed, 2 fingers like Odell.
It's a bit of a stretch to say, but I mean, okay. All right.
But what I got for my number 7 pick, of course, it's another trade. The Patriots coming up to take their guy, Mac Jones. Honestly, I feel like Belichick is looking for that guy for the future. Ever since that trade with the 49ers with Jimmy Garoppolo, I know he wanted to trade Tom Brady before, and he wanted to keep Jimmy G, and I know he wanted to try and get him more time. But this time, like, I'm assuming they wanted to keep him for whatever quarterback they pick at number 3. So I can see Belichick taking this chance with Mac Jones. This is basically the same thing, but a little less unathletic. You got a little like hiccups here and there, but I feel like with the comparisons of Phillip Rivers, this is definitely a pick that I know Belichick will try and trade up and draft his quarterback for the future.
All right. I can't say it's a bad thing. I think Tom Brady draws a lot of comparisons to Mac Jones as far as his play style. Mac Jones is more of a pocket passer. I think that Belichick would look at him and be like, okay, this is somebody that I can work with. So I absolutely see where you're coming from. I disagree, though. If the situation were to play out as it was, and if I didn't think that Mac Jones was going to the Niners, I still have to say, I think they're leaning more towards that Cam Newton style scheme that they went with last year. And that's why I picked Justin Fields. But, I don't know what's going on inside Belichick's head. Nobody does. He's the emperor. We don't know what's going on in his head.
Agreed. Hey, they were that close to getting to the playoffs again. They were only 2 wins away?
Maybe 3 or 4, man. The Dolphins were 10-6 and they didn't even make it in. The Patriots were 7-9. And they didn't really have they were kind of out of contention after week 12 or 13 or something like that. But
that's also due to the fact that Cam Newton wasn't available.
He was hurt a lot, and they had a lot of injuries. They were just riddled with injuries last year. The Patriots were, so I completely understand that.
I have Jamar Chase going to, and I'm sorry, Jamar, if you ever see this clip ever, I apologize. I have him going to Detroit. They need a receiver. They lost Kenny Golladay to your Giants.
Yeah.
I love Jamar Chase. He's probably the best pure receiver in the draft. I apologize for Jamar. You'll be in a nice house. You won't be in the city too much. So, but I have him going with Jared Goff in Detroit.
All right. See, we all knew that if we were going to say that Detroit was going to stay at number 7, these guys need a receiver. There is literally no other option to go if you're in Detroit. It's bad enough that they have Jared Goff at starting a QB right now. But now they don't have Golladay. They lost Amendola. They lost Marvin Jones Jr. all in the same offseason. If I'm a Lions fan, I don't know, man. I'm tying the rope right now. I don't really know what else
already. They're probably already tied the rope 10 years ago.
Yeah, but you know what? At least they had Matt Stafford, dude. At least there was that hope. They had Matt Stafford. You know what? As much hate as he gets sometimes, Matt Stafford really kept them in some seasons. I feel like the Lions, despite some of their bad records over the past couple of years, without him, they wouldn't have been nearly as competitive as they have been. I think they're one of the more boring teams to watch in the NFL, but overall, Matt Stafford made them a team to kind of get around. I don't know. I think it's going to be a really bad season in Detroit. Like they're definitely in rebuild mode right now.
Are they not?
Yeah. I don't see but I see them getting another top-ranked receiver, Devontae Smith, going to the Lions.
Ooh, okay.
Smith, I think he's just the best wide receiver in the draft available. Heisman Trophy winner. Doesn't have a great build. Everybody talks about him having a great build. You know another guy who didn't have a great build? Tom Brady. All right. Yeah, it was a different position, but I mean, at the same time, Devontae Smith has obviously proven that he has the skills and the tools to get it done, no matter where he goes. I mean, you're all alone up there at receiver. You could say what you want about Mac Jones with all his weapons. Devontae Smith had to be his own man out there, and you know what? When you're competing, like the fact that he shined on a receiving roster with, Jalen Waddle lining up on the other side, I think that really says something. So I see Devontae Smith going there. I just think he's a good fit for the Lions overall.
You were going to hate where I have Devontae Smith going. You were going to hate it. I have him falling in this
You have him
draft.
falling?
I do.
I love him. Well. I'm an Alabama fan, but I have him falling.
Okay.
I love him too, but I feel like the GMs have other ways, man. I see him drop as well.
Okay, I understand that. All right. So, anybody want to talk about pick number 8?
I'll start. I got Rashawn Slater going to the Panthers. I think with Sam Darnold, they need that left tackle. I think besides Penei Sewell, he's the next best tackle in the draft. I think this is a no-brainer. You already got DJ Moore. You already got Ryan Anderson. So you don't really need to be aggressive to get that receiver. So I think this is a no-brainer for the Panthers to get Rashawn Slater. Got to get that tackle.
I see that, especially, I mean, I know Sam Darnold's probably going to get PTSD if he doesn't get another tackle out there. It almost makes me embarrassed that I picked this, but you know what? I'm sticking to my guns because I know another thing that Sam Darnold lacked when he was in New York was proper weapons. The only thing that he really had going for him was Robbie Anderson at a time. The fact that one of his top receivers last year was like Brashad Perriman, like I just it was
way too much.
It was I don't know. It was just rough in my eyes. So that's why pick 8. That's where I got Kyle Pitts going to the Panthers. They haven't had a great tight end since Greg Olsen. I don't even know who the name of their tight end is right now. So I just see Kyle Pitts going there. And I looked up their stats last night. The Carolina Panthers, their tight ends as a whole, only had 27 receptions and 2 touchdowns by all their tight ends last season. That's horrible. There are so many tight ends in the league. Like, okay, I think one thing about the NFL, there's a lack of great tight ends in the league. Like, you can see it. Like, if you have a fantasy team, if you don't get a tight end early, you're going to get kind of screwed later on because there's only like 4 or 5 good ones. There's like Kelsey, there's Ingram. There's not a ton of great tight ends to go through. So you got to get your hands on one. Load up Sam Darnold with some weapons. He'll build confidence the more receptions that he gets. He's got DJ Moore out there. He's got Robbie Anderson back. So that's like immediate chemistry right there. Those two are going to refamiliarize themselves with each other. Add Kyle Pitts into that mix. I think this could be one of the best passing offenses in the NFL next year. And who's not to say? Maybe it won't be Sam Darnold out there. Maybe Teddy Bridgewater will win the quarterback competition in the preseason. I don't know.
I can't see him beating Sam Darnold.
You can't. I don't know.
I think Teddy leaves. I think they trade him.
Oh man, Teddy can't catch a break. I don't know.
I love the guy.
I've always seen him
more aggressive.
He does have to be more aggressive. I've always seen him as very underrated. That's actually a good way to put it because in the games that I watched Carolina play last season, he never really seemed to pull the trigger. He was efficient, but he was efficient to the point where he was hurting himself because he was trying to be too safe on offense.
He had 15 passing touchdowns with DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson. You can't do that. You got to have more than that.
You got to throw it downfield and take some risks. So I think, that combination plus Kyle Pitts, no matter who's going to be the starting quarterback in Carolina, they'll have some weapons available.
Honestly,
all right.
This is where I have Jamal Chase going to the Panthers. Because personally, if Sam Darnold wins that QB start with Teddy Bridgewater, I really feel like that this would be another arsenal to the weapons in his receiving core that he has, especially with everything that he has now. So I have him dropping to number 8 to the Panthers.
All right, so you guys have skill. I have the potatoes and meat for offensive tackle.
Okay, all right. I can understand the offensive tackle. I get that. Because I think that the key to any good quarterback, you have to have a good offensive line first. Like, I don't know. You could make, I always thought this. You could make a really bad quarterback or even a bad running back look halfway decent if you have a line behind them. Because if you give any of these guys times, they're professionals. No matter who they are, if you give them some time in the pocket, guys are going to get open. They're going to read it, and they're going to throw it that way. But I don't understand Jamar Chase, Yusuf. I'm sorry. I don't. With Robbie Anderson and, DJ Moore out there, I just don't see the need. What is your motivation?
You can put him at that third option, maybe slot, if any possible. Maybe
you can't put Jamar Chase at a third option, though. This is one of the most talented skill receivers in the draft.
Then, honestly, I would say he would shoot up to either that one or two spot in the receiving core.
Maybe, but then after
go ahead.
Anderson?
Yeah, I would say put Robbie Anderson at that slot spot.
You gotta put him outside though, because him and Moore are both burners.
Mm-hmm.
True.
Maybe Moore a little bit less though. I could see Moore going into a slot position.
Size.
Because the only thing I can see, if they do this pick, I'm saying one of those receivers that are currently there is going to get traded during the season. If it's not Robbie, you're
saying they're going to get traded?
It's potential. It could be a potential trade if they get Jamal Chase, because that's the best guy in the draft outside the other 7. To be perfectly honest, I wouldn't pass up on Jamal Chase. Would you pass up Jamal Chase?
I wouldn't pass on Jamar Chase. But yeah, but that's speaking as a Giants fan, and we need a receiver, and I'll get to that later.
I'm a Ravens fan. I need a receiver.
Well, you have a running back at QB, bro. I don't know what else to tell you. Yeah, I know. I believe in that. I totally believe that narrative.
Topic. We're talking about rookies. That's another topic. We're going to get to that during the season.
We'll get to that. All right. So we also have pick number 8. Pick number 9, Denver Broncos. I know you guys said that you saw them trading up. I got Micah Parsons going to the Denver Broncos because I know you guys are a little disappointed. Maybe you were expecting, Trey Lance is still on his draft board. Maybe he'll get him. And I get that. But like I said, I'm not totally unsold on Drew Lock. And Josie Jewell and AJ Johnson, they're going to be free agents next year. I think you might as well put that linebacker position back in a dominant stance, because Denver Broncos, we all know the culture in Denver is defense. All right. I think if Drew Lock can just get some small measure of efficiency, that's all that I'm asking. I'm not asking him to be a Pro Bowl quarterback. I'm asking for maybe 23 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. I don't think that's that much to ask for. Just a halfway decent season. Get the defense going again and make this a defensive draft for the Denver Broncos. And just, get it roaring back in Mile High on that side of the football. So I see why you guys disagree with Trey Lance,
let me go next. I gotta see, is Drew Lock in your house with a gun to your head? I can't tell. You gotta get Trey Lance.
I believe.
Broncos fans, as a man with an MVP as my quarterback, I want you guys to experience that once again. Get Trey Lance, sit him for a year, watch Drew Lock implode like he will do in the second half of the season. Get your quarterback who's more talented, more mature, can run the huddle better with that talented offense with Jerry Jeudy. You got Sutton on the outside. You got to get Trey Lance. I think it's done with Drew Lock. It seems like Denver's done with him. He'll probably be working at the same Walmart the guy from Ohio State's working at, JT Barrett. They'll be working together. They'll be dual bagging.
That's good. Yeah, paper, plastic. One guy will be bringing it up. The other guy can,
You got to get Trey Lance. I just hope that Drew Lock stops blackmailing you to say this.
Drew Lock.
I wonder what you did.
Drew Lock ain't blackmailing me at all, but I believe you give this man one more season. You can't. You know what? Everybody deserves a second chance.
He said that this year. This is supposed to be his year. It was this season.
Everybody deserves a second chance. Let me tell you, this dude just had nothing more than a sophomore slump. All right, he did everything he needed to do his rookie season. Sure, he had injuries, but he went 4-1 as a starter. I know that's a point that every analyst keeps on repeating when they talk about Drew Lock and the Denver Broncos at his high point, that 4-1 record as a rookie. And yeah, he threw 16 touchdowns and 15 picks last year. But you know what? That was strike one. And this is a strike two system. This is a 2-strike system right here. He hasn't gotten his second strike. If halfway through the season, Drew Lock is as bad as you guys are predicting he's going to be, and I understand if that happens, I just see it going a different way. I'll eat my words. But until that happens, I believe in Drew Lock. Maybe focus on the quarterback position within the next few drafts. Get that defense going again. It's not all about the skill positions in this league. If you're a GM and you're only focusing on skill positions, I know this is a quarterback-rich draft, but it's also, you know what? I just see Micah Parsons. I've heard a lot of good things about Micah Parsons.
You also I think it's not a good quarterback draft next year. So if you want a quarterback, take it this year. This is the year to do it. You're going to be trapped next year. It's not a good quarterback draft class next year.
The way that I see it, we're flipping a coin. Are we going to get 2019 Drew Lock or are we going to get 2020 Drew Lock? I'm willing to take that coin toss. That's just me.
That's a $4 billion coin for the franchise you're flipping.
Now, of course, I said Atlanta trade up, so they would be at this 9th pick. But I have them getting Rashawn Slate from the O-line. Honestly, they need more protection on that offensive line. I know they could easily just get a quarterback and just get anything else to help Matt Ryan right now. But they basically devoted to get back to the playoffs not right now, or get back to the Super Bowl right now. With this pick, honestly, I feel like this would be one step going into the championship bound for Atlanta.
I can see what you're saying. Definitely, I will never disagree with a team building up its O-line. Every team needs a good O-line. That's a building block for any good quarterback. Like I was saying before, a mediocre quarterback can be a great quarterback if they have a great offensive line. Look at Eli Manning, for example. This dude, when he had a good O-line, took him to 2 Super Bowls. With a bad O-line, he checked down all the time, and he couldn't take him 20 yards down the field. So I get what you're saying.
But with this pick, though, you down the line, if you don't need him at guard, you can put him at nose tackle. So he could play multiple positions. That's what I like with this pick.
He could. I mean, there's a lot of versatility there, but at the same time, I'm going to have to say I think Atlanta needs to look to the future with a QB. Matt Ryan is getting up there, and you can tell management, they love Matt Ryan, and I know that they do, but I think that both parties are sensing that the time is coming for him within the next maybe 2 or 3 years. And they might be, and you know what? They might be looking to shop him after this season or next season, depending on how it goes, because we haven't heard anything from Atlanta since, that 28-3 choke. They had one playoff appearance the season after, but they haven't been doing anything since. Julio Jones is getting up there in age. Yeah, so they might be looking. Go ahead.
But they have been marketing both of them for like the past 3 months, and yet no one wants them. So if they want to go all in right now to prove their point, then they might as well go all in. But if they're going to trade them, then I would say this year would be the prime opportunity to do it. Otherwise, I would just keep him till retirement, like try and get as many playoffs as possible and just build under.
I still think Matt Ryan's a competitive quarterback. I think that a lot of the struggles that are going on in Atlanta right now are not related to him. They have a good receiving core. Even if Julio Jones is getting up there in age, he's still a productive wide receiver. I like Calvin Ridley. What was the name of their tight end? That dude with the long blonde, Hunter Hurst. Yeah, he was on my fantasy team. Good, inconsistent, not a great producer all the time, but he can get it done in certain occasions. But I still think they got to look to the future. That's because they don't want to make the same mistake that the Steelers are making with sentiment towards guys. I mean, in fact, I see this as being a very Steelers related conversation when we're talking about the Falcons, because both teams, they got quarterbacks getting up there in age. I think that they need to look to the future sooner rather than later. And I'll get to that later when I get to my Falcons pick. that they traded away for that Patriots pick in my mock draft. So, Matt, who you got going at number 9?
Number 9, I had Trey Lance going to Denver. That's who I had. I think he's the 4th best quarterback in the draft right now, but I think he will go over Mac Jones as the season goes underway.
All right, I understand that. I know you're sold on Trey Lance.
I'm not sold on him. I like him a lot.
Okay.
I like him. I'm not sold on him.
No, I get it. I mean, there's better quarterbacks in this draft, and I think he's a good option. I mean, we look, we all did our research, and we all knew this before. This is a quarterback-heavy draft. All right, so I mean, we don't have to love all these guys. I think they're all great at their positions, but I guarantee you, one of these guys, I think it's going to be Justin Fields. And I kind of have a sneaking suspicion it's going to be Trey Lance as well. Not all of them are going to succeed. They don't all succeed. All 5 of these guys. I just don't see it.
One of them will be a bust. That's
one of them,
100%.
Yeah. One of them will be a bust. But I can't see it being Lawrence.
They don't put all your money on Lawrence being great, though.
I'm not putting it all on him being great. I'm just saying, I think that if anything, the Jaguars will fail him. I don't see it being Trevor Lawrence's fault. Yeah. Zach Wilson, I mean, he had a great season at BYU. He's a little unproven besides that.
Never played a big game.
Yeah.
You're going to New York. You're going to the media capital of the world. Can you play in New York?
Yeah, like you're coming out. I forget. Is BYU an independent or a Mountain West Conference team?
They're independent.
They are independent, yeah. So, I mean, I remember their most publicized game last season, and keep in mind it was a COVID season. They didn't have fans, and they didn't have a ton of fans in the stands anyway. Although I do like the fact that college games did have at least some measure of attendance for games. But I remember their most publicized game of the year before the bowl games was against Coastal Carolina. Like, we haven't seen it. We never saw him go up against like a powerhouse, like an SEC or an ACC powerhouse. So I'm curious to see what Zach Wilson can do when he gets to the NFL, where everybody's on like an equal playing field. And plus, he's playing for the New York Jets, so that just speaks volumes on itself. So, all right, we're gonna move on. Pick number 10. Ugh, the Dallas Cowboys.
How about
America's team.
Oh man, America's disappointment is more like
25 years.
These dudes, 25 years since they won a ring. All right, let me tell you this. I'll say this. I like Dak Prescott. I like Dak Prescott when he came out of the draft. I've never really been truly sold on Ezekiel Elliott. He had a great rookie season. He's been a little and I mean, he's a Pro Bowl caliber running back, but I don't think he's lived up to the hype that he had when he came out of Ohio State.
Just say he got lazy. You cannot be nice. Just say he got lazy. Say
he did get a little bit lazy. I think he got a little bit cocky, if anything. I think he plays down to his opponents a lot. I think that's a big problem for him. That whole like the feasting thing or whatever. I was never
not as physical as he was in his rookie year.
He wasn't. I love the I loved the physicality that he had when he was in his rookie season. He reminded me a lot of Earl Campbell running the football when he was in his rookie season. I just haven't seen it since. He's still a Pro Bowl caliber running back, but he plays like you just hear a lot more criticism about him these days. But I will say this. There is no issue with the Cowboys on the offensive side of the football. Dak Prescott was playing lights out of his mind football before he got hurt last year. He was set to absolutely shatter the single season passing yards record.
Maybe MVP candidate?
Yeah, and you know what? Wait, what was that?
Do you believe an MVP candidate?
He can't be MVP at 5-11.
Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't call Dak an MVP candidate. You know what? I can see him in there, but like not in the top 3. Like I could see Dak as maybe like a 4 or 5 MVP candidate on like in his best season. There's just too much talent in the NFL right now. Patrick Mahomes, you know, and I can see Lamar. Lamar's had a lot more like longevity for a running quarterback with like the stats that he puts up and the fantasy numbers he puts up, staying in the MVP conversation for the next couple of years.
He wins. Yeah. He gets to the playoffs.
He does. He gets them to the playoffs. We're not going to talk about what happens when he gets into the playoffs, but I mean, the man is a regular season machine. He keeps them competitive. They are Super Bowl contenders every season, so I can't argue that. I can't argue that logic. But anyway, the Cowboys have no weaknesses on offense right now. I don't see it. Like, their receiving core is great. CeeDee Lamb underperformed a little bit. We can't say, we can't say a ton about rookies, and I think he might have a breakout season this year. And I'm not overemphasizing when I say this, I love Amari Cooper, and I love his route running. I clamored to get this dude on one of my 2 fantasy teams last year. I got him on one, but not the one that I really cared about. But he got
get overpaid though.
I don't love his contract. I love Amari Cooper. His contract I don't love.
I do, but you know what? When I think of Amari Cooper, I think of pure route running, and I think that he's really good at that. Probably one of, if not the, I think he's probably the best wide receiver to come out of Alabama in the past maybe 10 years, and that is saying something.
Probably the most polished.
Definitely the most polished.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I thank God and you know what? I hate to say this because I hate Dallas. Thank God he went there though. He was not having the dream realized when he played for Oakland. It was just not going on there. He was a mediocre receiver at best, and I don't blame it because Derek Carr had his own issues when he was in the pocket because nobody was there to protect him and get those passes out to Amari Cooper. But at the same time, they weren't really helping him with the routes. And, it wasn't working for Amari Cooper anyway, the pick. So we're talking about a defensive pick for the Cowboys because I have always liked their linebackers. I see Sean Lee as being more of a mentor at this point. He's been a mentor for a number of years. The guy with the neck pad. I don't know. Van something.
Wolf Hunter.
Yeah.
Really good.
Yeah.
And stay healthy too, just like Sean Lee.
That's true. That's true. But you know what? I see them as if they're healthy, they could be a decent enough duo at linebacker. But the Cowboys' real weakness, and it's been this way for years, it's something that Jerry Jones never addresses, is their secondary. And I really think that they got to go cornerback with this. And that's why I got Patrick Surtain, the second cornerback out of Alabama.
That's what I agree.
Got you. Yep.
Hallelujah. We're 11 picks in, and we can finally agree on something. I'm so happy.
Jerry Jones is going to go offense because that's what he likes to do.
Jerry Jones has a fetish for skill positions, and it makes me sick because this dude needs to just delegate, hire a real general manager. I mean, he's a great owner. He knows what he's doing financially, but as far as a scout, I don't trust Jerry Jones. I think he might go skill position, but if he's smart and if he actually listens to the fans and his team, they're going to go cornerback, and I think they're going to go Patrick Surtain.
I agree. Because honestly, we can all agree here, especially a lot of Cowboys fans can agree here. Like this pick, Patrick Surtain, this will bring back stability to this secondary, honestly, because the Cowboys missed a lot of potential in recent years. Talking every single draft, they had an opportunity to fix this defense, and this has been a glaring issue. Of course, they're not going to say anything about the offense. The offense is all right, but the defense, if you don't take care of it, then what's the point? Like of course, you may win the division. I'm sorry, the NFC East is like
the NFC least.
Exactly. They're not that great, at least right now. But that offense can't carry you to the Super Bowl. So this would be my pick, Patrick Surtain at number 10.
All right, we are all in sync with pick number 10 for the Cowboys. And yeah, I mean, ranked 23rd in the NFL in defense in 2020. Their defense, I don't think it's ever been outright bad. Like, I've been watching the NFL since 2009. I've never seen an outright awful Cowboys defense, but it's never been anywhere above mediocre. Like, I've never seen them ranked really above like 14th or 13th. I mean, I think that Patrick Surtain could take them one step closer to being more of a lockdown defense. All right. So pick 11. All right. I'm busting it out. Oh, with the 11th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the New York Giants select Jalen Waddle, wide receiver out of Alabama. And you know what? There's been a lot of talk with this Kenny Galladay trade that they no longer have a needed wide receiver. I completely disagree. I think load up Jones with weapons. A lot of people are going to say, oh, no, why don't you get an offensive lineman? Of course he needs an offensive lineman, okay? Look, the guy has wheels, and I know he has the fumble issues, but I really think in the second half of the season they addressed Jones's turnover issues. Jason Garrett was like, dude, you got to stop, and he did. You notice he didn't throw a lot of picks in the second half of the season, and I think that he really did a better job of keeping his hands on the football when he was in the pocket. Not a great job. He did fumble the ball a few times, and he almost cost him that game against Dallas in the regular season finale. But you know what? I see a bright. I know Yusuf, you're skeptical about Daniel Jones, and I see the skepticism. I'm still not too sure about him myself. But I think the upside to Daniel Jones, if you can get him weapons and if you can get him a good offensive line, but particularly the weapons, I see a great and long career with the New York Giants and Daniel Jones.
Okay. Well, sadly, I'm going to have to disagree with you on here. Honestly, I love the Giants to death. I love them to death. But I feel like what they've been doing last year, I haven't heard much about the offense. I feel like it's the defense that's going to carry this Giants team.
Oh, absolutely.
Probably a potential another 2011 Super Bowl type of ordeal, or what was it, 08?
No, 07 and 08.
Yeah.
07, yeah. 07 and 2011, particularly 2011, they had a great defense.
That's why I feel like they're going to go on this path and draft McCall Parsons from Penn State.
That's what I got too.
Honestly, he'd be the great solution to the problem for Patrick Graham. And honestly, that defense would need it. Of course, the edge rusher would be a primary need, but I feel like Parsons would pretty much give a check mark on that elite front seven. Like you can't pass up on this. Like you can carry this defense. Of course, you say I'm skeptical of Daniel Jones. Of course, this is his go-to year. But I feel like the main contributor to his success is that defense, and I feel like Parsons would be that guy.
I can agree with that. My whole thing is, though, I love the culture that Joe Judge has brought to New York. They're really more defensive oriented, like you said. They were ranked 6th in the NFL in overall defense last season. Leonard Williams, his career got resurrected in New York last year. I mean, he played in New York before, but now, in blue. I mean, I love the things that they were doing. That secondary was pretty good. Bradbury, everybody. I just don't see them with immediate needs of defense. And I mean, they need an edge rusher. That's there's no question about that. But you know what? I think that's something that can be addressed in the second and third rounds. And they still have a problem with their offensive line, which I alluded to earlier. They have a lot of things that they need to work out if they're going to be a playoff contender again. But you know what? I think that I think that this is the closest that they've been since maybe 2016, the year that they went 11-5, and it was mostly off of their defense, that they are to being a contender in the NFL. Because it's been a long and sad road since then, and nobody knows better than I do about that. Brought a tear to my eye when Eli retired. I'm not gonna lie, he was like my second dad.
Was it tears of joy? I think it was tears of joy instead.
Nah, bro, it was tears of sad. That man brought me some memories. Not all of them good, but you know what? I watched that man grow up as a quarterback. I think at some point it never really was his fault at the end. His line failed him. His receivers failed him. I don't really think it was Eli Manning's fault towards the end of his career, but we're getting off topic on that. So yeah, I like Golladay. I think he's a little more unproven than people think. He had that one Pro Bowl year back in 2019. He's injury prone though, and that's where I have an issue with him. So I think that you need Waddle in there to kind of secure that you're going to have a solid receiver. And I love Slayton and Sterling Shepard, but I think that they're better suited as 2, 3, and maybe even 4th, like a 4th wide receiver option. So I don't even know why they got John Ross.
So you're saying because of his riddled injury season last year, they're going to need another wide receiver?
I do. I mean, he had 2019 was great for him. But, he just, you know what? I think he's a little bit more improving than people were saying. Everybody's hailing that free agency move. And I think it was a great move. He was one of the best wide receivers available.
Yeah, but 18 million, though? 18 million? You think he's going to live up to that?
No, I don't. I think he was maybe worth 12 mil. I don't see him as being an $18 million wide receiver. It's yet to be proven. We'll see how 2021 pans out for him. We'll see if he proves me wrong. I don't think they should have given him that much money right off the bat. I think there's a lot more deserving guys on that defense. I don't like the fact that they paid Leonard Williams, though, as much as he did, because my philosophy is when guys start to get paid, they get a little bit lazier. And prime example is guys like Ryan Fitzpatrick. Dude, every time the guy gets paid, he plays like garbage, and then he gets shipped off to another team, gets humble again, and then does well. I see him and I see other guys as well. When guys get paid, they get lazy. So I'm going to keep a close eye on Leonard Williams this year and Kenny Galladay.
All right. I guess I'll start off with the 12th pick with the Eagles, the town of brotherly love. But this is where I have Jalen Waddles going to the Philadelphia Eagles, honestly.
Did you copy my mock draft? Or did you copy mine? I haven't gone.
Yeah, you guys have agreed on everything, bro. I don't know. I thought this was just a gang up on me, but now I just think you're copying Matt. What's going on here?
Honestly, I feel like Jalen Waddle at this point is with the Eagles. They have their wide receiver that they need. Jalen Hurts finally gets one receiver that he can finally throw to. And honestly, let's just be honest. They just been a mess since the last leg of the 2020 season. Nothing's been going their way. I know with the whole trade with Carson Wentz kind of threw them back. Now they're saying they don't know if they want to go with Jalen Hurts. But I feel like this Jalen Waddle pick will honestly help them out. It will help Jalen Hurts out, and maybe they can turn this into some upside.
All right, Yusuf. I'm going to explain why I got him taking Jalen Waddle. You're looking at this from a whole different perspective. This is to rectify them passing on Justin Jefferson and not Jalen. Who's the guy? CeeDee Lamb. Because Philly fans are getting tired of watching Walmart employees go out there and play receiver for their team. You had Travis Fulgham. What is their leading receiver last year?
Horrible.
Who the hell is Travis Fulgham?
And now Ertz is gone. What are you going to do?
I think they get Jalen Waddle. They need that skill position player, as you said. Is Jalen Hurts even going to be the quarterback next year? We don't even know. Eagles don't even know what they're going to do with quarterback. I got him taking Jalen Waddle, who I think could be a scary, good sleeper wide receiver as maybe one of the best in the draft if he can stay healthy. I like him a lot. I think he goes to Philly. I know you don't want to hear that, Jack, but it's what's going to happen.
It's what's best.
I understand that. I completely agree with you guys on the wide receiver end of things, but as we know, Devontae Smith and Jalen Waddle are already gone in my eyes. So, obviously, the next option up, Jamar Chase to the Philadelphia Eagles. You said that Philadelphia had a lot of issues going into that last stretch of the season. I think the one positive, and I'm actually sold on this guy, and I believe, and I hate the Eagles. I hate the Eagles more than I hate the Cowboys. The Eagle, I wish it I just think Philly's a dumpster fire. And honestly, I think that's where they belong. But I will say this. I like Jalen Hurts, and I believe in Jalen Hurts. I didn't like him at Alabama. I loved him at Oklahoma. And obviously, I think he was the solution for a bad offensive line because this guy had wheels, and he can pass the football. I knew when they put him in that Green Bay game that I was like, Wentz is never coming in for the rest of the season. This guy's staying in. And I was right, except for Nate Sudfeld in the second half of that Washington game. I'm not going to talk about that because I might start screaming. But Jamar Chase,
we're 6-10. Let it go. Come on.
We could have made the playoffs though. That's all I'm going to say.
Let it go.
Can't bet it all on the Eagles.
Let it go.
I did bet it on the Eagles, but we beat the Cowboys. We did our job that day. They didn't do theirs. I mean, they didn't have to do theirs. That was really their call. They were already out of it no matter what, which made me happy because they weren't
that running back in Baltimore. Only you beat him. You were in the playoffs.
We almost did. We can, you know what? Our defense got a little more confident now. We'll see if we face your running back again someday. I know it's probably going to be in the next 3 or 4 years, according to the schedule rotation. But you know what? If he's still there, his legs will probably be a little more withered by then. We'll get him. We'll get
ring ceremony.
We'll be. We'll see it.
Week 1.
Yeah, we'll see about that. You got to get an AFC championship ring first, there, buddy.
We will. Hey, it was very windy in Buffalo. It was very windy.
It was very windy. I thought it was a running back.
It was. We couldn't run.
You couldn't run with the wind.
You gotta have lanes to run.
The wind was facing him. I see.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it was blowing him back. All right, costing him some MPH. All right. Anyway, though, Jamar Chase, like you said, these guys have no good wide receivers. I forget. I'm going to make some mistakes throughout this. Is Goddard still in Philadelphia? I didn't look at their updated roster. Yeah, he is still there. So the fact that he is probably their 1 or 2 option at receiver right now, I know he's a tight end, but he's probably their best receiving option that they have over there right now. And like you said, Walmart wide receivers. And Jamar Chase could change that whole perspective. Jamar Chase is one guy, if he goes to the Eagles, I'd be willing to pick him in the first maybe 5 rounds of a fantasy draft just because they have nobody else to go to. And plus, he plays bigger than he is. He's a short guy, but he plays bigger than he is. He's got great hands. I think Jalen Hurts doesn't have the best accuracy, but I think that, with the hands that Jamar Chase has, I think it could really help, round out Jalen Hurts, maybe give him a little more confidence in his game. I think they can really help each other. So I think that it's a good fit for them if Jamar Chase is still available. If not, I still definitely see them going to receiver, either Smith or Waddle, if they're still available. So, yeah, Jamar Chase to the Eagles. We got pick 13, the Los Angeles Chargers. Matt, I want you to go first on this one. Who you got?
All right, this name is very confusing. I'm going to wreck this. Elijah Vera Tucker. I think I said that right.
I think you did. I think you did.
Beat my fucking draft, I swear to God.
They got to get that O-line. You got Justin Herbert, who actually proved me wrong, proved a lot of people wrong last year. He is a beast. He terrifies me. We play him in Baltimore this year. I cannot wait to go to that game. What do you say? Just get him some blocking. You want to have your franchise quarterback. You don't want another Joe Burrow. I think with Slater, Sewell gone, you need that guy that help. It's pretty straightforward. Help protect your quarterback. Help protect your franchise. It's not the sexy pick, Chargers fans, if there's any Chargers fans even existing, but it's the best possible pick, I think.
It's like 2 or 3. I don't know. I mean, the fact that when they relocated to Los Angeles,
Stupid.
they gave the Rams the Coliseum, and they gave the Chargers the freaking StubHub Center, which is like a glorified basketball.
They couldn't even fill that up. They couldn't fill that stadium up.
I know, that was just sad. And you know what they did, but it was with opposing teams' fans, which was just sad. The only time I've ever seen a Chargers game filled up is when Eli was playing for the Giants and they were playing in San Diego, because they all came out to boo that man. But besides that, not a lot of Chargers fans out there. Not a lot of full-time Chargers fans, at least. All right, so pick 13, I agree. I think that they need protection, but I'm going with Christian Darrisaw from Virginia Tech. Now,
that's a good pick.
Yeah. Now, Pro Football Focus ranked the Chargers' offensive line as the worst in football last year. Justin Herbert got sacked 32 times. That's just unacceptable. This man, if this man expects to get sacked 2 times in a game, then you're doing something wrong. The thing that I like about Darrisaw specifically, he excels in pass protection, as you should. You're a lineman. You have to, but he excels more in blocking for the run game, and I think that it's a lot more important for a lineman to be able to block for the weakest part of your team in relation to the halfback versus the quarterback, because you need that weakness filled. It just plugs up a hole. They don't have a great running back core, so I think that putting him in there, I think it's going to be great for Herbert. I think it's going to be good for whoever they have in the backfield this season. He draws comparisons to Laramie Tunsil. That's a guy you want comparisons to. One of the greats down in Houston. And now they had a really bad offseason with their O-line. Mike Pouncey, among a lot of other veterans on that O-line, are gone now. So statistically, it could be even worse than 2020, but you got to start somewhere. And I think that Darrisaw is a great start. Yusuf, who you got?
See, I'm agreeing with Matthew on this one with the Elijah Vera Tucker.
Okay.
Honestly, this is more of a versatile type pick for them. They do need protection. He can play as left tackle as well as sliding down to the interior. And honestly, he's a day one starter on that line. I'm sorry, but that line needs more protection. Herbert needs that protection, and I feel like that's the guy that they're going to go for.
I agree with you. I think whoever though they get, I really think that the Chargers are a lock for an O lineman in the first round, whether it's Darrisaw or Tucker. But yeah, I think whoever they pick in that first round is going to be starting week 1 on that offensive line. So we got pick 14, the Minnesota Vikings. Yusuf, I'm going to let you go first on that one.
Honestly, at this point, it depends how the whole entire draft shakes up. But I have Jalen Phillips going.
My God, you got me again.
Number 14.
Same pick again.
Number 14. See, I believe me and Matt think alike on these. All right.
I think you guys are thinking alike on a lot of these.
Middle of the draft, I know we're going to be different because it gets crazy for me by pick 16.
Okay.
All right.
Understandable on that. But I feel like Minnesota would just be more inclined to having that pass rusher. Of course, they can always go O-line, but I feel like those top O-line that they need are all going to be drafted by the time it gets to them. So Jalen Phillips would be that guy for their defense.
Okay. I can see you there. I kind of went defensively as well. I picked Kwity Paye, defensive end out of Michigan on this one. And I'm going to get a little more statistical with you because I spent 3 hours from 11:30 to 2:30 a.m. writing up this gospel that I have in my hands right now. So I'm going to give you some stats on this. And the Minnesota Vikings, I actually opened my jaw a little bit when I was looking at this online last night. In the 16 games that they played last year, they allowed over 20 points in 15 of those games. And that's not even the craziest part. In 7 of those games, they allowed over 30 points. That's unacceptable. You cannot go to the playoffs or expect to be a competitive football team, even if you have a good offense. And I love their offense. I love their receiving core. Justin Jefferson is going to be one of the best wide receivers in the NFL in the next 5 years. Adam Thielen is still a big producer. They have a bit of a weakness at tight end now, especially since Kyle Rudolph's gone. But I still think overall they don't have a lot of offensive problems. Kirk Cousins, he gets a lot of hate, but I don't really see where it's coming from because I think he's a good QB for their system. I think the pocket quarterback is dying these days. And I think that could lead to them needing some offensive linemen, but they can focus on that later on in the draft. You got to get some pressure on the opposing quarterback right now. You cannot have 7 games where you're allowing over 30 points a game. That's just absolutely unacceptable. Their lead and this guy, Kwity Paye, he needs to get the sack numbers up too. The leading sacker on the Vikings last season was, and I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly, Yannick Ngakoue.
Yannick Ngakoue.
Yannick Ngakoue. Oh, that's right. You know what? I've heard that name
for me. He did nothing for my team at all.
Yannick Ngakoue. He only had 5 sacks last season. You cannot have a guy on your team who is supposed to be, the head of your defense and the guy rushing the quarterback the most, and he can't even get double-digit sack numbers. If you can't get it, you need an edge rusher or a defensive lineman. If you can't get at least one guy with at least 10 sacks,
especially with Aaron Rodgers in that division, you got to get to Aaron.
Absolutely. So, all right. Who do you got going? Pick number 14, Matt.
I got Chase Horn going to the New England Patriots. As you know, they traded with Atlanta. He is a guy that's flying up draft boards. Flying. I think Atlanta needs defense. They need defense. I think it's a smart move to trade back, get the guy you need. I actually like Matt Ryan at quarterback, so I don't think they need to go quarterback yet. I think they're good for the next 3 to 4 years. They need to stack up that defense, get some help in the secondary, especially when you got Tom Brady in that division. You got Michael Thomas, Mike Evans. I could go on with those skill position receivers. I think he's a really good player. I think besides Patrick Surtain, he's the second best corner in the draft. I really like him a lot. I think this is a no-brainer for Atlanta.
Absolutely. You got to rush him. You got a lot of dangerous quarterbacks in that division. It's a dangerous division overall. And I think that they don't have they got to go defense. They got to go defense.
It's a dangerous conference to begin with.
It is just absolutely. The NFC is unbelievable. You can't understate that. All right. Pick number 15. As you guys know, it was about an hour ago when we were talking about those first 5 picks. But if you remember correctly, I had the Atlanta Falcons trading with the New England Patriots to go to pick number 4. So we're going to pick for the Falcons for me at pick number 15. And here we go. Trey Lance to the Atlanta Falcons. Now, hear me out on this one. I was going to pick Trey Lance to go higher. And you know what? I know what you were saying earlier about Drew Lock with that bullet to my head, and I understand it. But this made me change my mind because I almost had him trading up, going to Denver. But here's where I changed my mind. I watched Trey Lance's tape, and I saw his weaknesses. And he needs a mentor. He's not going to go in there week 1 and be a guy who you can immediately see as being special and doing it on his own, like potentially a Zach Wilson or just any of these other guys in the draft. Oh my God, I don't know why my short-term memory is so bad. Trevor Lawrence. He's not going to be a Trevor Lawrence. I don't think. He's not going to be, maybe not even be a Zach Wilson. But I think he could potentially be, and this is a stretch saying this, the best quarterback in this draft if he has a good mentor to learn behind. And there is no better mentor, especially in crunch time, than Matt Ryan. I think he'd be a great mentor for him, especially watching Matt Ryan, who's still kind of coming on the edge of his prime. I know I said he was getting older, but Matt Ryan still has a little bit left in the tank. I think Trey Lance could learn a lot from him. And I think it could be a whole new offensive scheme coming in Atlanta with the next few years with Trey Lance's unique qualities and capabilities. Like I said, 28 touchdowns, no interceptions in 2019. And that's not even to mention the 14 rushing touchdowns he had that season as well. 42 total touchdowns. I think he had maybe one fumble in that season if I read his statistics correctly. I'm taking that if I'm the Atlanta Falcons, polishing him up and making this guy a superstar within the next 3 years. Maybe taking the Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers approach. It might take a little longer than people want it to, but I think it could really pay off in the end for the Atlanta Falcons.
Okay. All right. So at my pick number 15, of course, honestly, at this point, it's just best available. I have J.C. Horn. He's just that physical corner that you can't really pass up on. And of course, Detroit, they need a lot of help, especially on the offensive end. But I feel like if they build up on that defense, they can worry about offense and later on in the draft. But honestly, he's more of that long-term type of situation where you can agree that he could probably help that defense out in the long term. So Horn's my pick for number 15.
I see that. Atlanta's never been known for their defense, and it might be time for a change. Matt, who you got?
I got Caleb Farley going to the Cardinals in the next pick. I'm big on drafting. What's in your division, you draft that need. You got Russell Wilson. Now you got Matt Stafford. And you got Justin Fields. I'm just going to say it because I think he goes to the Niners. I think Caleb Farley for the Cardinals. I think they're pretty good on offense right now. I still don't trust in their head coach. I'm not really big on what's his name because I'm having short-term memory loss too. The head coach of the Cardinals. What's his name again?
Cliff Kingsbury.
Cliff Kingsbury. I'm not big on that, but I think this is a good pick. I think they need help in that secondary. Losing Patrick Peterson. Now he's gone. I think he's going to Minnesota now. I think that's a good pick. I think a lot of these corners start going a little bit faster now as we get deeper into the first round.
Okay. Yusuf, I apologize. I know the Falcons weren't the guy you picked in pick number 15 because it was Detroit. You're right. I keep on forgetting just because I'm looking at my own draft board right here. I keep on forgetting because we're getting all mixed up with the trades and everything. So it happens. All right. So pick number 16, I got the Cardinals coming up, and I got them taking a guy who you guys took pretty early on, Elijah Vera Tucker. And I think that the Cardinals, they have a lot of things to address. I think that a lot of people would argue, okay, maybe they need to work on their defense in the first round, and I can see it. They did not have a very good defensive season, but I looked at their statistics, and it was more inconsistent than just outright bad for the Cardinals defensively last season. They played a lot of great games, and I would on defense, and I would know as a Giants fan, they allowed the least amount of yardage out of the Giants last season than any other team in the NFL. Now, that's not saying a ton because I don't think the Giants were really ready for the moment with the receivers that they had last season. But still, they allowed under 200 yards total for the game for the Giants. And yeah, Elijah Vera Tucker, I think if you can get a good offensive line in front of Kyler Murray, who's already dangerous with his feet, when this dude has time to think about, okay, am I going to scramble? Do I have a good scramble lane? Are people going to open up the gaps for me so that I can go through? Or am I just going to am I going to wait? And am I going to wait for Christian Kirk or DeAndre Hopkins to get open for me? It could be good because they've really done a lot of work on revamping their running game. Even though I didn't really think that they needed it, I like Chase Edmonds. Is Kenyon Drake still there? I don't think he is. Yeah, he's still there. Yeah, Kenyon Drake. Yeah, he is. Yeah, it was it was fun watching those guys compete for the running back spot last year. I tried Chase Edmonds on my fantasy team. I think he's a great receiving back as well. But overall, yeah, I think a guard would just be another step to opening up that offense. It needs to take the next step because Atlanta was looking like a playoff team last season, and then people started figuring out Kyler Murray and what he was doing. And as a guy who I had a lot of Arizona Cardinals on my fantasy team last year. I had Murray as well. He faltered in the second half of the season. If you can get him a consistent line, I don't think that the Cardinals can be stopped on offense. And I actually like Cliff Kingsbury as far as an offensive coach goes. So, all right. Pick number 16, Yusuf, who you got?
All right. Well, a little correction on the Kenyon Drake. They actually replaced him with James Conner, not too
James,
long ago.
that's you know what? That's right. That deal happened within the
It just
past week or
happened.
two. You're right.
So I just wanted to let you guys know, but this is
Right.
the guy that I had pretty high in the draft, but I feel like I said, a lot of GMs are gonna just pass on him. 15 of them to be exact because of his size. This is where I have Devontae Smith going to the Cardinals at the 16th pick. At this point, he proved what he can do. Like he has the versatility to be that great wide receiver, especially putting him in the depth charts with DeAndre Hopkins, with
Mhm.
AJ Green, Christian Kirk. Maybe you can replace him with Christian Kirk, but I
Mm.
feel like he's going to be that surprise sleeper pick that Kyle Murray is going to have in his arsenal during the next season that probably pushes them into the playoffs.
I can see that. But like I said, I really like their receiving core as is right now. And I think that they have a lot of other options to go to. And, I mean, we're going to disagree, obviously. You picked a wide receiver, I picked a guard. Obviously, we're going to disagree on our opinions. So, I mean, I can see what you're saying. Christian Kirk was a little bit more inconsistent, and maybe having a more solidified name next to Hopkins could be an advantage for the Cardinals next season, especially for Kyler Murray's confidence sake. But overall, I just seeing Murray scramble all over the place next year and that little boy run that he does so well. I mean, I think that he just needs more consistency out of his offensive line. I love the way that Kyler Murray plays, and I think that having a good guard in front of him could really benefit the entire team.
That's the same thing with Devontae Smith. Devontae Smith played with that type of quarterback before. I believe it was a year ago with Tua Tagovailoa. Am I correct, Matt?
Yes, he did.
So he's used to that scramble type of playmaking. So he's going to be that guy that you want on that outfield to get your balls besides DeAndre Hopkins. Because I know Adrian Green has 1 foot out the door. So potentially by next season, you can see Devontae Smith taking that second string spot.
Oh, buddy, I agree with you about AJ Green. That he doesn't have 1 foot in the grave. He's got 2 knees hanging in, like hanging 6 feet under. This dude is in the grave right now. He's just waiting for somebody to bury him. AJ Green has not been a competitive wide receiver since, I want to say 2016, 2017. Tyler Boyd took his job and kicked him to the curb. So, all right. Matt, who you got at pick 16?
Probably messing up his last name, but I got Gregory Rousseau going to the Las Vegas Raiders. Still getting
It's
used
hard.
to that.
I know.
Only 21 sacks last year. They were absolutely god awful in the terms of getting to the quarterback. I think he helps them. I probably have him going a little bit higher than how most people have him going, but it's the number one need for the Raiders. It needs somebody to get to the quarterback. You're probably in the best quarterback division in all of football, and you might be adding, a Trey Lance or Fields or having a better Drew Lock come next year. They need to get a guy that can get to the quarterback. It's a must-have. Same with my team, but sadly we're not picking that high. But that's who I have going.
All right, I see that, and I think it is a necessity for the Raiders. They've always had struggles on defense, and you know what? I think the thing with any team, you can have as much coaching changes and as much personnel scheme changes as you want in the NFL, but at the end of the day, I feel like each team has a culture. And with the Oakland Raiders, their culture has always been defense first. That's what Al Davis always preached when they were dominant back in the 80s. Just win, baby. And I think that a lot of that had to do with their defensive prowess because Jim Plunkett wasn't getting it done on the offensive side. I mean, he was good and he did what he had to do. But that's basically what the Raiders are. Have the offense do what it needs to do and have the defense kind of set the tempo for the game. So for pick number 17, I'll start us off. I got the Raiders at pick number 17. You know what? I was looking at my draft board. I might have had some kind of mishap, or maybe just because of one of the trade ups, because it seems as though all my picks are one below your guys. But I got the Raiders at pick number 17. I got Rashawn Slater from Northwestern, the tackle. It wasn't really a huge standout pick for me as far as like his overall stats, but one thing really stood out to me when they were talking about him is that when he went up against Chase Young in college, he locked him down. And he's a nasty player. One weakness for him is he's got short arm length, but obviously we're getting deeper into the picks now. We're going to see a lot more weaknesses and chinks in the armor for these players. But Las Vegas last season or this offseason, they traded their right tackle, their guard, and their center in the offseason. That right side is screaming for something good to happen for them right now. So I see Rashawn Slater going there, at least kind of resetting it, because I don't think Derek Carr is getting more and more frustrated as every season passes on that they are not protecting him. And I get the defensive pick that you had, Matt, but overall, I think Derek Carr is too special of a quarterback, and he's still in his prime, and he's too special of a quarterback to be wasted on by just having to fear for his life every time he goes back in the pocket.
Yeah, I definitely don't hate the pick. I was really stuck on O-line, D-line. They definitely up front, they need guys on that both sides of the ball.
Mm. Yusuf, who you got at 17?
Honestly, it's going to be a best available pick. It's honestly just defensive line with Christian Barmore, honestly, from Alabama, the sophomore. Because at this point, like he would help that Raiders apply some defense or some pressure to that opposing offensive line. And I feel like it's time for them to go all in. Like, it's either you're gonna help Derek Carr out or you're just gonna build up your defense.
Mm.
And personally, I'm a guy that's like, I would rather have a line than a defensive line. But if it seems like they're going this route, then why don't you just keep building on? Like, eventually you can just get a guard at the second round or third round to help Derek Carr out. But this is the best available pick on my end.
All right. Matt, who you got at 17?
This is where you're probably going to curse me out, but I got Devontae Smith going to the Miami Dolphins at 17. I have him falling. There's always that one guy in the draft for no reason falls, and I have Devontae Smith falling. I just have him falling. I can't explain it.
I know what it is. I know what it is. You don't like his build. You don't like his build.
I don't like it. I don't mind his build. He needs to bulk up. We've seen receivers slender like him succeed, but he needs to bulk up. He needs to. I'm sorry. I'm big on that. You're playing in the AFC. You're going to be going against Marlon Humphrey. You're going to be going against Tre'Davious White. Guys that like to press. You got to be able to bulk up. You got to be able to beat the line of scrimmage.
Hey, man, we don't know how his offseason workouts have been going. Maybe this guy's been hitting the gym. We'll see. Because I think that because you know what? If I was a college wide receiver and I had his build, I'm not saying I don't have a great build now, but if I had his build, I'd be telling myself I gotta bulk up. I don't see Devontae Smith. This guy was the Heisman Trophy winner. And I know. That doesn't guarantee that you're going to be a great NFL player. Obviously, we've seen it so many times before. But Devontae Smith, wide receivers, I feel like get a little bit of an exception to that rule. Just because it's not really – because like every wide receiver runs the same route tree at the end of the day. So it's basically dependent on his route running, his skills as far as catching the ball. You know, I mean, as far as the build goes, maybe he can't moss as many guys. You know, maybe he can't take a tackle as well as some of these more built guys like Calvin Johnson did in the past, or like some other more built wide receivers. But I still see Devontae Smith being I still see him going higher, and that's why I had him picked up high. So I respect your opinion, and I can put myself in your shoes and see why you got Devontae Smith of all the wide receivers in this draft.
I think he's a steal. I'm not saying he's worth this. I'm saying why I think he falls. I think he's going to be a steal, though.
I get it. And
at this,
I get it. And not only that, like the fact that we have the option to say that Devontae Smith could fall this far in the draft also goes to show this isn't just a quarterback heavy draft. It is wide receiver heavy also. This is a great wide receiver draft going into it. And that's why pick number 18, where I got the Dolphins right now, I got them going with Rondale Moore out of Purdue.
Damn it. You'll see why I'm so mad about that.
All right. Well, all right. I'll hear your opinion after this because I think we need to give Tua a new weapon. Like I said earlier, Devontae Parker. If he's going to be the number one, then that's an immediate problem. I like Gesicki, but again, he's a tight end. He's going to have to block on some assignments, on some plays. These guys need a receiver. So no matter who it was going to be, I don't see Smith, Waddle, and Chase lasting up until pick 17. Even with your theory about Devontae Smith falling in this draft, I don't see him going down to pick 17 or 18. At this point, Rondale Moore is the best one available. He's explosive, he's strong, and has a solid build for 5'9" pounds. He's injury prone, and he was a COVID opt out, which I think, obviously that's one of the main. I think he could have gone higher on this draft and made even much for class here. He didn't opt out. And he didn't run a ton of different routes at Purdue. They didn't really have him doing a lot of unique and creative routes. But overall, his pure athleticism and his impressive ability for a guy of his height and weight, I think he's the best available wide receiver out of that big three with Chase, Smith, and Waddle.
Now with my pick, of course, I have the Dolphins going at it. Honestly, I would really, really want them to go running back at this point, but I feel like they're just gonna keep piling on that defense, and it's gonna be Jeremiah Owusu Karamora from Notre Dame. Because
my boys, the Irish.
Yeah, honestly, this is like mostly a quality pick. Like they do need, of course, I understand the need to give Tua those offensive needs, but I feel like it's going to be like fixed mostly in the second and third round. They need the defense. He's right there. Why not? Because it makes the most sense to me. So I have him landing with the Dolphins.
I see your point, but at the same time, the Dolphins were inconsistent on defense last season. It absolutely cost them in that game against the Bills where they gave up 56 points in week 17.
That's why.
So I like your right. So overall, I got to say this, and I haven't said this to you a lot tonight, even though I like some of your picks, but I really like this pick. I like this pick by you. It's not the guy I would go to, obviously, because I think that they need to go offense heavy in at least in the first couple rounds. I was having them going more defensive going into the later rounds of the draft, but overall, I like Owusu as a pick. Matt, who you got at 18?
I actually got Owusu going to Washington. And Washington, I was so close to having them trade up to get a quarterback. They've kind of disappointed me this offseason. But I just have them strengthening that defense, build on what makes them great, somehow trust Ryan Fitzpatrick this year, which I think is a huge mistake. But I think that's what they get at Washington. Yusuf, we finally don't match on a pick. We were one pick away. We finally don't match. But I have him going to Washington. I think that defense is absolutely going to be nasty. They just need a quarterback, and the NFC East is theirs. That's all they need. That's all they need.
Honestly, I can understand you there with Washington, but if I'm going to start off with pick 19, I have them getting Christian Darson for offensive line.
Okay.
Because honestly, at this point, it's basically a need for that roster. Of course, they got Ryan Fitzmagic as their new quarterback. I can just see the head nods now. But who are you gonna have as a starting left tackle to replace Trent Williamson? That is the main question. So
you gotta have somebody.
That's true. That's why I feel like he would be a replacement pick more than an actual.
It is a deep tackle class. I have them getting a tackle later on in like the early mid rounds. Not yet though. I think they go defense, but I like your pick.
Okay. I see, Matt, I like the pick because I think with all the defensive improvements that they made last season, especially with getting short-term memory again. He was such a huge player last year. Oh, Chase Young. After getting Chase Young last year, I think that could really solidify the defense. Yusuf, I understand your pick as well. I mean, it's going to be a rough year as far as quarterbacks go. Maybe not a rough year. I liked what Heineke did in the wild card game against Tampa Bay. I'm not going to say that that's how he's going to play against everybody, but Tampa Bay was a good defense. Shaq Barrett, JPP, and Ndamukong Suh, just all these good names. And the fact that he competed with that team in a really competitive position, I say give Tyler Heineke a shot. Or Fitzpatrick. We don't know what Fitzpatrick we're going to see. I heard that. He doesn't have a lot left in the tank. I disagree. He did a lot of really good things with the Dolphins last year. Didn't get him to the playoffs, but I liked what Fitzpatrick did. And I think that it was controversial when they subbed him out for Tua. I think there was a chance that if Ryan Fitzpatrick started all 16 games for the Dolphins last season, maybe wild card round. I just don't think Tua was ready for the moment yet. He was just like it was his first games played off of that hip injury that he had his last year at Alabama.
It was the owner's decision. You had to
It was
know
an
that.
owner's decision at that point.
You had to know they had to want him. And
They
had
did
to
want-
evaluate him. They had to see him in his rookie season just to see how he was.
They did have to evaluate him, and I get that, but I feel like a lot of quarterbacks benefit from just going from like rookie quarterbacks benefit from just going to practice, kind of stand behind a guy. Fitzpatrick's a journeyman. He's got a lot of experience. He's a good guy. Like he's a good guy to learn from. I think he'd be a good mentor. So I don't know. That's just my opinion on it. But anyway, pick number 19. We got the football team. Love the name, by the way. I know that they're picking new names to go through, and I've seen them, and they all, quite frankly, suck. I like the football team.
Washington team.
I just like the name the Washington football team. I'd keep it. I'd keep it for years. It's kind of sticking it to FedEx and all their sponsors and everything like that. The guys who kind of forced them out of the name. And look, I'm not going to get political. I kind of like the name that they had. I'm not going to mention it on here because I'm not trying to get us in trouble, you know. But I think that they had a cool logo for years and years. Like you can say what you want. It was racist. Like at the end of the day, when you really think about it, but I don't know. I just don't think that anybody really noticed it. But anyway, we're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about their pick, about the football team's pick, and they're going to pick offensive tackle Tevin Jenkins. Because, like I said, I want Fitzpatrick and Heineke to get a shot. I want to see how that quarterback battle goes. The football team, they were tied for second to last in sacks allowed per game in 2020, 3.1 sacks per game. And we were talking about how bad it was that Justin Herbert got sacked 32 times last season. Imagine getting sacked over 3 times a game. If you're Taylor Heineke or Alex Smith, I mean, for God's sakes, Alex Smith came off of a knee injury that almost killed him and forced him into a knee amputation. And this is how they repay him by, A, getting rid of him, and B, before that, almost sending him into another injury by letting him get sacked as much as he did. But anyway, as far as Jenkins as an individual goes, he's got strength, size, and he's got a lot of underrated footwork. The only thing that I'm concerned about him is he's kind of an emotional player. He draws penalties now and again, but overall, I think it's a good pick out of Oklahoma State. I think that they can work on that. Ron Rivera, I love what Ron Rivera was doing with the football team last season. I like Ron Rivera as a coach a lot. Good for him for beating cancer, doing all those great things with the football team last season. I think he's got them going into the right direction. The NFC least is about to become the NFC beast within the next 5 years. Watch me or watch them.
Right, everybody except Philly.
Everybody. I'm telling you, I believe in Jalen Hurts. I don't want to, and I hate Philadelphia, but I like Jalen Hurts. So either they're going to fail as a team or they're going to fail Jalen Hurts as an individual. I see it going that way. All right. Pick number 20, Yusuf. I want to hear what you got.
All right. So we keep talking about the NFC East. Let's actually go up north for a second with the Chicago Bears. Honestly, it took me a minute. I'm not going to lie. It took me like 2-3 hours to think what they were trying to do, especially with the acquisition of Andy Dalton.
It was tough for me too. I agree.
Believe it or not, I believe he was the only quarterback with 4,000 passing yards in the season.
Last season?
No. Throughout the entire Bears franchise, like QB franchise.
Okay.
I believe so. But I really had them going for a quarterback, or drafting for a quarterback, but I feel like they're just going to build and get a defensive back, and his name is Greg Newsome, the second from Northwestern. This man, after losing Kyle Fuller, Chicago's basically going to be in a rebounding state, trying to take the accountable quarterback for this upcoming draft down the road. And honestly, the formula tandem at the corner with Jalen Johnson sounds a bit interesting. So I have Newsome with the 20th pick with the Chicago Bears.
Okay. I like the pick. I think that you and me should go back and forth because Matt's a little off the how can I put this? A little off the line as far as because we're picking Bears and he's picking Colts right now, I assume, in the 20th pick.
I have the Ravens trading with the Bears for this pick.
Okay, see, we're going man, you got a lot of trades going on over there.
I got trades. I've been aggressive this draft.
You got trades. You got aggressive. This man,
80%. wrong, but why not?
This man is playing God over here, and this man is making all the trades. All right. But pick number 20. Same with me, Chicago Bears. I don't have them going defense, though. I hope that Rashad Bateman can catch a lot of passes in the Windy City because that's where he's going. I loved Rashad Bateman when he played for Minnesota. Minnesota 2019 was probably the biggest feel-good story in college football. That win over Penn State, I watched every second of that game. I even remember what I ate during that game. That was a good chicken parm, by the way. But that was a great game. Rashad Bateman, I think he's one of the most underrated wide receivers in this draft. And the thing, I would say, Yusuf, I agree with you. I would like it if the Bears got a quarterback. The only problem is they're just, with the 20th pick, they're in too much of an undesirable position to make demands for a higher pick at this point.
That's where I was thinking about, because like if they wanted a QB, they would have had to draft basically trade their entire like 3-4 years of drafting people just to go up to get a quarterback that's not guaranteed that's going to be there.
I think that it's time for the Bears to stop putting all the chips in and go smart. The fact that, I mean, they're still hearing about it. The fact that they picked Trubisky over Patrick Mahomes, they're still not hearing the end of that. It's time to correct the mistakes, slowly build this team, finally get them their first NFL championship since '85. And I think it starts with Rashad Bateman and a complete rebuild of this team. Trubisky's gone,
which was incredibly dumb. Like they only had to pay him $2 million and they let him go. Honestly, I'm sorry.
They did. It was ridiculous. I don't dislike Dalton overall. I think he did a halfway decent job subbing in for the Cowboys. I don't think he's a playoff contending quarterback like he was in his best days at Cincinnati. But overall, like I said, Bateman had an amazing 2019. I think he'd be a good weapon for Dalton coming in because the Bears lack, and I mean lack, good receiving weapons. He has occasional drops, which is kind of a concern, but I don't think it's anything that can't be fixed with an NFL level receiving coach. And he drew a lot of comparisons to a Minnesota Vikings Hall of Famer, Chris Carter, who I like watching his highlight tapes a lot. I mean, sure, he got overshadowed by Randy Moss later on, but hey man, I like Chris Carter, so sue me. I think Rashad Bateman's a good pick for the Bears.
I love the pick too, Rashad Bateman, but the only problem is I don't feel like he would be ready within that year of like, okay, we need you to be the go-to guy right now, especially with that division, especially with Green Bay still kicking down doors in that division. I don't feel he'll be there, but the potential, I believe that you said potential Hall of Famer, it could be there, but I would still give it like maybe.
Well, I wasn't saying he was a potential Hall of Famer. I was just saying he drew comparisons to Chris Carter, and I like Chris Carter, like looking at his old highlights from the '90s. So I think that if you're going to get compared to anybody, I think that's a huge compliment to him to get compared to Chris Carter.
All right, Matt, who do you have at the 20th pick?
I have the Ravens trading up. There's some speculation Chicago could trade back. I have Eric DeCosta, very aggressive GM, trading up, get Ronald Moore. Like you said, injury history, that hamstring, we don't know how it's going to hold up, but we need somebody to stretch the field. We can't just have Hollywood get double teamed because we don't even know if he's the number one as it is right now. We need somebody to be on the other side of the ball, stretch it out, get a wide receiver, get Lamar another weapon. I know we got Sammy Watkins. I don't think he's the guy. Anyone thinks he's the guy to revamp this passing offense. But I think he's definitely not. Maybe in the playoffs, but not now. I think we trade up, get Ronald Moore. Hopefully, I don't think this will happen, but I somehow think this happens. But I think we get Ronald Moore. We get a guy to spread the offense out, get some speed, very talented. Like you said, injuries, how will hold up, but I think this is a pick we got to make.
Yusuf, you go first.
Okay.
You go first.
So my question to you, Matt, with Baltimore trading up to that 20th pick, who are you guys giving up for that 20th pick? Are you giving up like the future first round, second round picks to get up to that?
We're giving up mid-round picks. We're in a Super Bowl window right now. Bears go back to our pick. We give them a mid-round pick, maybe give up that third pick. We got to be aggressive. We got to make sure our passing offense is at least competitive enough so that can complement our run game. And I think Ronald Moore helps that. We got to do it before Lamar Jackson gets paid. because we're running out of time to get on that Super Bowl window. We got like
man wants his money. Your running back wants his money.
He wants that
my
Mahomes
MVP unanimous wants his money. He deserves it.
Hey man, he needs to win that Super Bowl, get that Mahomes money. That's all I gotta tell you.
Mahomes got his own problems. He's got to get O-line.
Yeah, he does, and we'll get to that later. Believe me.
We will. When we get to their pick.
Yeah, we'll get to their pick. That is something that needs to be addressed. Yeah, you know what? I had some notes on that pick that you had, but again, man, short-term memory. It's just slipping my mind tonight. All right. So wait, Yusuf, did you pick? You did pick 20 for the Bears, correct?
Correct.
You did. All right. So pick 21. We got the Indianapolis Colts on the board on my draft board. Carson, freshly acquired Carson Wentz. I love Frank Reich as a head coach. I think he's a great head coach. T.Y. Hilton's getting up there in age, so I think that kind of leaves a bit of a receiver question. But I still got them going with Walker Little, tackle out of Stanford, because Carson Wentz got sacked. I don't know if you guys saw the statistic. Maybe you did, maybe you didn't. It was an eye-opener for me when I actually saw it, because I knew he got sacked a lot, and he didn't even play a full season, mind you. Carson Wentz got sacked 50 times last season. And I think the fact that he played, I'm not going to say he played great, 16 touchdowns, 15 picks. He was heavily criticized for his performance in Philadelphia. But obviously with an offensive line like that, that's not all his fault. We don't want to give this dude PTSD out there. I think Carson Wentz is a great fit for Frank Reich. He worked with him when Reich was an offensive coordinator for the Eagles when they won the Super Bowl in 2017, the closest Wentz ever came to becoming an MVP. He's got a lot of familiarity with the Indianapolis Colts coaching system. He's worked with a lot of those guys at some point in his career, and in most cases, some of the best points in Carson Wentz's career. So if you get him a tackle, really solidify his security, give him time to throw time to throw good passes. I think it's a great pick. He was the fourth best tackle according to Pro Football Focus. Walker Little was. The only thing that I see as a problem, he was ranked high, but this is a big question mark because he was injured. He played only 72 snaps in 2019 before he got hurt for the entire year. He was maybe a first or second best offensive tackle in I think it was 2018 before he got hurt. He opted out in 2020, which I'm not going to hate on anybody for having their COVID concerns, but as far as his draft stock, it really hurt him. And I think that was a big problem. Not a lot of scouts know what to think of him anymore since he hasn't played in almost 2 years.
He's a steal. He is an absolute steal, in my opinion. I love him.
He is a steal, though. I agree with you there. So I think if you get him back out there, get him back warmed up, get him back in the rhythm, back in the groove, I think he'd be a great security blanket for Carson Wentz, and I think that I honestly see the Colts making a playoff run this season. Their coaching is too good. I just think that they just have too much going on for them right now. They're just a well-run organization.
I think Carson Wentz rebounds, definitely.
I believe so.
All right, pick 21, Yusuf. Who you got?
Of course, I have the Colts holding strong, but they will be drafting an edge with Azeez Ojulari. Hopefully, I'm saying his name right. And like in a sense, is another replacement for Justin Houston at the helm. The Colts they have few glaring weaknesses in the roster, and honestly, the edge rusher is definitely one of them. So I feel like this is a need pick than more of like any of the talent. So expect him to be up on their list as probably their number one pick going out. But they need it with a 10-1 season that they had last year. They kind of showed it. During like the last couple of games. Like that is their primary need, and they need to accomplish it.
I see your point there. Absolutely.
Of course.
I'm sorry, I had to give more analysis on it. Like I said, I'm working off of 3.5 hours of sleep. I had to get it for work early this morning, writing my gospel. So sometimes I'm fading in and out. I'm not going to lie to you.
Apologies, man.
Yeah, I had to work early too. It's been a long week.
It has been a long week. We're getting into the 20s now, It's
kind of like the snooze fest where everybody kind of sleeps on.
It is, but I'm telling you, pick 24, I got an eye opener for you guys. But All right, Matt, who you got at 21 in your ever entangled draft class that you got going on?
I have Christian Darrisaw going. I have a tackle. Colts really good O-line, but they kind of have that hole on the left side. He's very natural, very good feet. I think it's a very compliment to Carson Wentz. You got to protect his blind sides, most important. I think I like the Colts too. I really like the Colts a lot this year. I can see him going really far in the playoffs. But I think Christian Darrisaw, I think, is who they pick if he falls to them.
Absolutely. I think you got to go line if you're the Colts. They have a few other positions that I think need to get filled out, but nothing really as far as like skill positions go. So yeah, I like the line for the Colts overall. All right, pick number 22. I'm gonna kick us off. Tennessee Titans. I got Kadarius Toney, wide receiver out of Florida, and here is why. Corey Davis is gone. Now, that isn't a huge blow because he was kind of a meh receiver, but I think he was a good compliment to A.J. Brown. And they need another compliment to A.J. Brown. And like I said, just like the quarterbacks, it's a receiver-heavy draft class. They just don't have any other notable weapons, really. I don't see anybody at tight end stepping up. A.J. Brown's great. I mean, I love the resurgence that Ryan Tannehill has had in Tennessee, but everybody needs weapons. And Ryan Tannehill isn't the kind of quarterback like a Manning or a Brady where you can go in with like guys who would be, third-rate wide receivers on other teams and get the job done. So just have him in there to buff out the wide receiving core. And I don't really have a ton of notes on him. I've really looked around for his analysis. I couldn't find a ton of stuff on him, but he was ranked very highly on CBSSports.com. So it's mostly just best available wide receiver at this point. For Toney. So,
all right, with my pick going into the 22nd, honestly, this is like a replacement pick from the Isaiah Wilson experience, especially Matt. I know you know much about Isaiah Wilson.
Whatever he's doing, I hope he gets help. I
don't know what's going on with that man. He gets drafted and winds up leaving, but I have them getting Tevin Jackson. Honestly, from Oklahoma State, the senior, 6'6", 320 pounds.
That was actually my first pick, and I changed it. So we were almost on the same one.
Hey, man, but it's just another bite. Like Tennessee just needs that line. They thought they got with Isaiah Wilson before the whole shebang happened. Now it's basically a restart to the whole entire thing, and I feel like it's going to be an offensive line.
I think, I agree with that. I haven't really done a lot of studying on the Titans offensive line. The Titans aren't really a team that I've studied like in that regard. They're like very good.
They're like that dark horse type of team.
They are. And I like their system. I love what what's their head coach's name?
The linebacker guy.
Yeah.
Get his name.
I know him too. I remember he outsmarted Belichick in that 2019 in those 2019 playoffs. I can't believe I'm forgetting his name.
What's his name? I don't know why I can't remember either.
Go ahead and look him up.
This
is the big topic right now. I'm gonna have to look up his name.
Oh no, it's Vrabel. Mike Vrabel.
You're right.
Yeah, I knew it had a V in it.
Yeah. I was like, it's something with a V, but it's like something I couldn't like pronounce if I heard it for the first time. Like if it's being read, you know what I mean? But anyway, that's not really the important thing. But yeah, I like the system that he's installed over there. Kind of like a special team specialist. But I think that the Titans aren't really a team that rely on like skill positions. They're just a good overall system. They just remind me, they're like, if we're talking about the NBA, they don't have a lot of good individual players, but they're like a European team where all these guys like kind of work as like a good cohesive unit. So that's how I view the Tennessee Titans. But anyway, Matt, who you got at pick 22?
Probably overdraft, but I have Terrace Marshall Jr. going in to replace Corey Davis. They need, like you said, they need that guy opposite of A.J. Brown. Tannehill's not really a guy that can carry a team. He's not. There's two types of quarterbacks. There's trailers, and there's trailers, and there's the trucks that pull them. He's a trailer. It's a good complementary piece. I like him a lot. Some drop issues at LSU, but I do like him. Probably have him going a little bit higher then probably he will. But I think they get aggressive and get that wide receiver.
I see that. I think that they definitely do need to go receiver. I can't even believe that throughout the entire time that we were just talking about the Titans, I completely forgot about Derrick Henry. I forgot that he existed because that man does not need an offensive lineman. This dude could run 99 yards. He's just gonna stiff arm a 300-pound guy right in the face and get him right out of his way. But
I guess it's because the Ravens shut him down. That's probably why we all forgot about him.
Yeah, you know what? That's true. I was just watching highlight tapes today, though. I just saw that old 99-yard run he had against the Jaguars a couple of years ago, where he stiff armed like 3 people on his way in there. It should have been like a 10-yard game, but he turned it into a 99-yard game. So, anyway, oh boy, we've been waiting for this one. Pick number 23, the New York Jets. Oh my God, what position do they not need? You could go. I mean, you could go anywhere. I mean, yeah, we obviously knew Zach Wilson was going to go number 2. This one is a big question because you could go so many different directions with this. Like, what don't they need that we know? Like, we know the quarterback position is going to be filled, but they need so many other things. But I just remember back. Obviously, that defense was atrocious, and I remember as a prime example that game against Oakland and those waning seconds. That touchdown pass that cost that, they were going to go like what, 1-10 maybe after that game. Who caught that? Ruggs for the Raiders? Yeah.
Terrible Greg Williams call. I don't know why.
Yep. And he got fired. He got fired the next day. So obviously that shows to me the Jets maybe need to start in the secondary and maybe go cornerback. And that's why I got Caleb Farley out of Virginia Tech. He's the ideal size for a cornerback. And he still moves like a smaller guy. So you got speed and you got height. I think that that's a great start for their defense. I think he could be a steal, and he could be a shutdown corner playing for the Jets. Maybe not a Darrelle Revis level player. That's just too much to ask for. But I think he's a guy who could win maybe a couple Pro Bowls in his career. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. He was the top-ranked cornerback, according to CBSSports.com. I got a lot of my information from CBSSports.com. I looked at like 3 websites, but they were like my biggest contributor there. And I just like his upside overall. I think he's got great potential. He's got the build. He's just, I think he could be one of the biggest steals in this draft, honestly.
Honestly, this is where I kind of agree, but I kind of go a different way in the offensive standpoint. Look, don't get me wrong. Saul is a great head coach when it comes to defense, but I feel like this is going to be more of an offensive-heavy draft, at least for the first 2 rounds for the Jets. Mm-hmm. And this is where I have Najee Harris for the 23rd pick going to the Jets. I mean, what don't you like with this kid? Like, he's a proven power back. For the 3 years, he's proven that he can't be stopped. Within the course of 3 years, this man broke, 180 broken tackles out of like 639 carries.
Unreal.
Like, how do you stop this man? I know he's not on the juice, but he's just a freak of nature. And I know the Jets, especially with that depth in the running back core, he's definitely their go-to starter. So expect him to be carrying a lot of points and a lot of weights for Zach Wilson and coming up in his first year.
I like it. I think it's smart overall. I think that the Jets I think that the problem with them, maybe because they've gone for skill positions in the past, not very often, but I think that this year you might be right in the sense that they need to have a skill position overload in the first 2 rounds because they just don't have a lot of big names on their team. And I'm not saying that could necessarily contributes to them being bad, but either way, I think whether they go cornerback, running back, or another option, maybe Matt will have another option for us, something different. But
defense.
More defense.
Yep.
Let's hear it.
I got him going Kwity Paye. Get an edge rusher. Kind of the Devontae Smith of edge rushers. Needs to bulk up a little bit, but he's very explosive. He's a guy that the Jets need. I was really stuck between secondary defensive line. But I think I really drafted all my cornerbacks really early. But I have him going Kwity Paye for the Jets.
Okay. I like it overall. I know I had him a little bit higher up on the board. But like I said, there's just so many positions that the Jets need. Defensive end is no exception. So I
You
mean,
literally just draw a name out of a hat, and they
yeah,
need it.
you really could. You really could. It's like a pool.
Like it's not wrong. No wrong answer for the Jets.
Yeah, you got to do something because I mean, I don't think they can get any lower. I mean, quarterback's obviously the answer at number 2, but like that's the thing. Like there's nowhere to go but up for them, I think. So yeah, defensive end could be a good pick.
I agree with you on that, Matt, but I have Caleb Fairley starting with the 24th pick going to Pittsburgh. Honestly, this would be a really good rarity for Pittsburgh to grab what an elite talent late in the first round in how many years? Maybe 2, 3. So, of course, like a lot of reasons why he dropped down is due to the medical situation. But if you go past that and he can stay healthy, he can be one of the elite corners in this league.
I can see it. But I just got to ask you, what specific, like, do they have a needed corner? Like, did you?
It would honestly be like a best available pick at that point. Maybe they'll use him for a trade later on in the upcoming months. But I feel like this would be more of a depth type of situation than more of a actual like go-to starter in a sense.
Okay. I understand what you're saying. All right, though. This is the one. This is the one that I think could raise a few eyebrows for you guys. This is a guy who I think you guys are going to be like, what?
No,
You're prepared? You're ready? All right.
Yeah.
You will definitely be like, what the hell do you have putting this guy in the first round?
If you say Kyle Trask, you're fired.
Buddy, pick number 24 for the Pittsburgh Steelers, Kyle Trask. And I will tell you why. Big Ben is 39 years old. Now, like we've been saying all night long, this is the best quarterback draft that we're probably going to see for the next 2 or 3 years. Kyle Trask had a shot at certain points last season to be considered the best quarterback in the SEC. I know Mac Jones was there, but as far as like an actual talented quarterback, Kyle Trask. Not only that, he had some Heisman talk at certain points in the season. You can't deny that. He actually did pretty good again. And you know what? I think that they had the best shot at beating Alabama in the SEC championship game this year. Not that that means that that'll translate to like him as an individual playing in the NFL, but who better to learn from than Ben Roethlisberger, who I think is a first ballot Hall of Famer, one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the NFL from a personal standpoint. He's been to 3 Super Bowls. And he's won 2. He's a measure of consistency. Even now, a lot of people are like, "Oh, after the Cleveland Browns, playoff loss and everything, like he threw like what 3, 4 picks." You know what?
4.
It was 4.
I know. I know every pick he throws.
You pay attention.
I do.
All right. Well, I get you, but you know what? At the end of the day, I still think he's a measure of consistency. He's by far, I think, at this point, the best quarterback in Pittsburgh history. And you know what? It's not even just about Ben Roethlisberger. I think that Mike Tomlin is one of the most underrated coaches in NFL history. And I think he's done a great job at training up quarterbacks to be backups for Ben Roethlisberger. Think about it. They've never been out of competition, even when Ben's out of it. Even in 2019, they had a lot of problems at quarterback. Ben got hurt in that second game against Seattle with the elbow injury. In comes Mason Rudolph. I'm not gonna sing Mason Rudolph's praises, say he was like some superstar or something, but he kept them in games. And at the very least, he kept them in games enough so that the defense could clean up. And then even after he got hurt, what's that third guy's name? Delvin.
Hodges.
Yeah. He came in. And even he didn't do that. Like we're talking a third string running back who is keeping them competitive and in games at this juncture, So I like Mike Tomlin. I like Roethlisberger as a mentor. I like what they've been able to do for quarterbacks. I know it's like, oh, Dwayne Haskins is there, but it's Dwayne Haskins. That dude, his shot's done. He's done.
Would it be like another Jordan Love situation with Green Bay though?
I think so. I think Trask sits out first year or 2, depending on whenever Big Ben retires. But I think Kyle Trask is the future of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
That's a huge
I have him going in the second round, but
Yeah,
I had a feeling you were
going
going to say that. I knew you. I just had a feeling.
Yeah, well, you know what? You got to pull the trigger at some point. It's not going to be a lot of great quarterback options. I'd rather stay competitive now than tank next season and hope for the best.
But the thing is, would Pittsburgh actually do that? Because I
They
know
don't
they've
seem to
been
know he's
trying to.
39. They forget he's 39 years old. I think they still think he's in his 20s.
Because I think they're trying to reconstruct his contract as we speak right now.
Mm.
And for that, I feel like they're trying to gain like someone out of free agency next year. So they're probably trying to go all in for the next 2 years before he calls quits. Personally,
I'm
I
not.
would-
Well,
Hey,
that's
Drew
the
Lock.
that's the. See, that's a team that could fix Drew Lock. I'm
They
telling
could.
you,
They could. That's a
they
good
could.
situation.
Yeah,
That's a
yeah.
good situation.
Honestly, if you have like honestly, they're so good. I have some faith for Dwayne Haskins. That's
do.
like, yeah, I do. Like that's how much I believe in the Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback system. I really
Great
do.
culture.
honestly, I feel like Sam Donald would have been the best.
That's
pick
what I
there.
said. They should have got Sam Darnold. It would be perfect for him.
That would have been a great spot. I really see him as like a Big Ben type as well.
Mm.
I mean, yeah, we can say that about all, big burly white quarterbacks who, don't run the football. But you know what? Honestly, it's a style. It's a style that's been working for over 50 years. So why not have Sam Darnold go to the Steelers? But the past is the past. And you were saying, maybe it's not what the Steelers will do, but that's the beauty of what we're doing right now. This isn't about what they're going to do. It's about what we think they should do. So honestly, yeah, Kyle Trask to the Steelers. Fight me. Who y'all got at 24?
All right, this is my last trade of the draft. I promise. I have the
All right.
Packers trading with the Steelers. Steelers go back. They get Jamin Davis. They need a linebacker. Obviously, Christian Kirksey didn't work out. I'm tired of seeing Green Bay not have a defense. Lance, I know you're going to be with us soon, but I know you want a wide receiver. You need a linebacker. Your defense is not horrendous, but I'm tired of seeing every NFC championship you guys just get gashed. You need a linebacker. I think it's a good pick for you guys. Packers, please, 1 year be aggressive. 1 year. Not to get a quarterback. Get defense. Help Aaron Rodgers out. You need to get that Super Bowl. It's time. I don't know what else to say.
It's time.
Bay.
It's
Green
time.
Bay.
I haven't been afraid of I mean, they had a good defense in 2019, but before that, I don't think I've been afraid of a Green Bay defense since they won it all in 2010, back when Clay Matthews was actually considered a legitimate threat. So, and AJ Hawk lined up back there too. But anyway, Yusuf, who you got at 24?
I had Caleb Fairley, so I already explained my.
You did already. That's right. You know what? Now you're getting messed up with me because I picked Caleb Farley, pick number 23. You know what? I'm tired, man. I'm just a tired guy. I've been up for hours. I should get the Post Malone tattoos under my eyes because I'm always tired. But
I'll start us off with the pick 25.
Excellent.
So pick 25. This is mostly just going to be addressed to the secondary heavily, but Trayvon Morriggs,
we're back.
safety
Same pick.
from TCU. Honestly, they're just going to address the secondary, the offseason that continues with Morriggs. Urban Meyer, he just views that value in the depth in the back end. And I feel like the more depth they have, the more and more of an opportunity they have to get into this playoff type of team that they honestly deserve. Maybe even the potential of being that, what was it, 2017 when they were good?
Jacksonville, yeah, 2017.
I believe he's trying to build that type of offense, but this time they have a quarterback. So this is my pick. Like, I honestly believe that's what he's trying to do.
It's funny. I liked Blake Bortles until the media told me that I shouldn't. You know what I mean? It was weird. Like, I didn't dislike him. And then out of nowhere, everybody was like having doubts about Blake Bortles. I'm like, oh, it's his fault that they lost the AFC Championship. And then everything fell apart for them. But yeah, I like the pick, though. I like the pick. And I like that you did your homework on Urban Meyer. I appreciate that because honestly, this is where my weaknesses show because I love you know me for years. You know I love the NFL. But I'm not super well versed in college football. That's one thing. At least not about individual players. I know about the big ones, and I've watched the big ones play, but it's just that I prefer to watch the pros. You know what I mean? I don't know.
It's understandable, man. The college state is a different breed when it comes to the NFL, man.
Yeah.
But,
well, it's also hard to keep a track of, when it comes on at noon on a Saturday, and there's already, even if you have basic cable, you got like 10 games to choose from, and that's fun, but like, how are you going to like analyze a guy when there's so much to look at?
And you got to worry about like 300 D1 schools, especially another 100 FCS.
Yeah.
Viewers, please correct me if I'm wrong about that number, but that's like what, guaranteed like 100 something, 200 something games on a Saturday.
I think in the FBS, there's at least 125, maybe 130 teams right now, like playing at the top level of college football. If I'm mistaken, I know it's an old stat, but I know they at least had 123 back in like 2014. So it definitely like went up by then. So
all right, Matthew, who do you have at your pick 25?
On the Browns front office, it must be tiring to get deep and deep and deep by Lamar Jackson, the man who runs the division.
Oh my God.
I'm trying to figure out how to beat the best young quarterback in the league, besides Mahomes. So you need a cornerback. I had him going edge earlier in the year until they got Jadeveon Clowney, and he'll put up a good 4 games a year for them, because that's probably how much he'll play. I got him going Asante Samuel Jr. from Florida State. Small corner, good instincts. They need somebody helping in that passing defense. It seems like every time we play them, who's the guy? Ohio State they drafted. Denzel Ward. It seems like he's always hurt. Browns, I will say they have the best roster in the AFC North. They're not going to win it, but they have the best roster in the AFC North. They need a cornerback. They need somebody in that secondary. He won't tackle Lamar Jackson. He'll get his ankles broken like everybody else in that team because, it's Lamar Jackson. But he's going to help them out in the passing game. And, that's what they need. They need a cornerback. That's what they got. Good second-place team. Really good roster, though.
Hey, I need Lamar Jackson to be throwing some dimes next season. If you're
just tuning in, I'm a Ravens fan, by the way. I don't know if you guys knew that.
Oh, you're a Ravens fan?
Yeah.
Damn, this is the first I'm hearing of this. What the hell? Okay.
I hide it pretty well.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Yeah, you do. You're really good at hiding that. Anyway. All right. Pick number 25. I got the Jags, just like Yusuf. I got them going in a slightly different direction, though. So I think, obviously, we got to build up something for Trevor Lawrence. It's not going to come overnight. Like, we can be like, oh yeah, he's a winner and all that. Look at Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow isn't going to turn them into isn't going to turn the Bengals into a Super Bowl contender overnight. Same thing's not going to happen for Trevor Lawrence, no matter how good he is.
Hey,
so
we're 6-10 season until he got hurt. I'm just being honest.
He did good. I'm not going to say Burrow did bad. Burrow was like a rookie of the year contender at least.
Really
I don't think he was going to end up beating Herbert at the end, but he at least gave him a run for his money. But anyway, I got the Jaguars picking Terrence Marshall Jr. out of wide receiver out of LSU, just so that they can give Lawrence something to work with. I cannot even name to you a Jaguars receiver right now. I don't know any of them. Is Kiki? No, wait.
They got
no. He was on the Texans.
They got. I'm trying to think. I know their names. They got the guy they drafted last year. What's his name? You had him on your fantasy team, Yusuf, on the Jaguars.
Ooh. Oh shit.
I know their names because I literally.
See, this is what he's talking about. You can't remember the names, man.
I literally had 2 of them on my fantasy team.
Yeah, and he wound up failing for me. But,
see, that's what I'm talking about, bro. Like we don't need these men out here. You know what I mean? Wait, no, I think he's on Chicago.
Was it Al? No, it's
where is Allen Robinson?
He's on Chicago. Sadly, he's on Chicago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought so. Okay. Wow. Actually, Allen Robinson and was that guy I picked from Minnesota earlier? Very underrated wide receiver. But yeah, they could be a good duo. But anyway, Terrence Marshall out of LSU, good weight and height. He comes out of that, famous wide receiver core that Joe Burrow had in 2019. He's 6'3", 200 pounds. It's a stacked wide receiver class. I can't, stress that enough. I've stressed it like 3 times already in this video alone. 23 touchdowns in 2 full seasons at LSU. That's pretty good, So, I mean, obviously he seems like a red zone threat because, they're not all coming from deep. So I like him in the red zone with Lawrence. Not a ton of receptions, which could make him a little bit unproven. But then again, with Jamar Chase and all the other guys who were floating around, in the wide receiver core for LSU over the past 2 years. Who can blame him for only having, I think it was like 48 receptions at his best year at LSU. Like, you're not like, the fact that he got that with as many good receivers as they had was just luck on its own. So, give him a shot. He's a good pure wide receiver. I see him being a good target for Lawrence to look at going into 2021. So now we move on. We're getting later and later. Pick 26. Now, you already picked for the Browns, my friend.
I skipped. I accidentally skipped by that.
You did.
I did the Browns. Yeah, I skipped. That's my bad.
That's all right.
That's
all right, man. Big Yusuf Allah.
Yeah.
Who the Browns taking?
I'll take over Browns here. I feel like it was a flop when they didn't get JJ Watt. Honestly, I feel like that was on him. He wanted to go to the Cardinals, which I guess I understand, but
I think DeAndre Hopkins had a lot to do with that, though.
It's a nice city. So. It's a nice city to live in while you're going 8-8 every year.
Hey, man, honestly, I feel like he would have been a tandem there, but since that, I feel like they're just going to go with Joe Tyron, the edge rusher from Washington. Junior, he's a 262 pounds. Like, honestly, he's my personal favorite, honestly, and he offers like that high ceiling with like a very high floor at the end of the day, and it's basically he has that high motor that I expect with my edge rushers, which I guarantee will probably help contain Lamar Jackson. I see you over there, Matt.
That's the game plan, really.
Still waiting to see it.
But like the thing that I like, it's his skill set. It's very, very consistent. It's not like it's inconsistent. Like he would do something here and then just get pancaked the other game. Like it's nonstop high motor every single time. That's why I feel like he's a go-to guy for Cleveland.
I like it overall. I mean, honestly, I think we all have the same mindset. Even Matt going against his own guy, Lamar Jackson, which you got to do. You got to figure out a way to contain this guy. But you guys are going through the route of edge rushers. And see, my whole game plan is we're not even going to try to sack Lamar Jackson before we can get started, because we know he's going to get one. We know we can get past those bigger. We know we can get past those bigger players. That's what he's so special at. What I'm thinking is we got to get this guy in the backfield against the line, not the safeties and not the secondary per se, but against the linebackers. And that's why, and it's kind of a late pick for him. I don't know if he'll drop this far, but Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah from Notre Dame. All right. Because I'm telling you, Lamar Jackson has met his kryptonite in this man if he goes to the Browns. He's explosive. He gets to the quarterback. It was all in his analysis. Pretty good in coverage, too. So, I mean, if they get to Hollywood, if
they will, they'll stop Hollywood.
They'll stop Hollywood. If they do get another wide receiver in the draft, I think they'll stop them as well. He's more of the only thing about him, he's more of a flex athlete than a definite linebacker. But when you're playing in the NFC North or the AFC North, especially against Lamar Jackson, I think I'd still keep him at linebacker just for the versatility. The Browns are probably, in my opinion, the best team in the NFL on paper. Yeah. Not when you're actually sure. Odell's not what he used to be. Like all these other guys. Denzel Ward, I think, is great. And if he stayed healthy, if he stayed healthy, he'd be an amazing secondary player. But yeah, you could really flex out Owusu, and I really think that he's probably the best shot that they have at getting to Lamar Jackson. If that's what the only reason they're getting him is that. I mean, that would just help buff out the defense, because I think Cleveland already has a very underrated defense, but that would just solidify it. It would put a lot of the pressure off Baker Mayfield on the offensive side, and I think it would just be a good overall pick for them. So, pick number 27. We got your Baltimore Ravens. All right. And I'm going to do you have them at 27?
I have the Bears picking because they traded.
You have the Bears at 27.
Bears
okay.
Picking 27.
All right. So we're going to save the Ravens picks as a finale here. Me and Yusuf will pick after you. So I want to hear what you got for the Bears at 27.
I have Rashad Bateman going to Chicago Bears. I think there's some uncertainty with Allen Robinson if he's going to be in the future of the Bears. He's on a franchise tag. They also lost somebody else. I forget his name. Somebody they also lost. I know they just got Marquise Goodwin. That just happened. When I made this mock draft, that had not happened yet. But I got Rashad Pate.
I did not know they got Goodwin. Good for them.
Yeah, it was like, I think it was yesterday they got him. But yeah,
Wow.
I got Rashad Bateman. Another target for Andy Dalton. Another weapon. Uncertainty at wide receiver. They could really be gutted next year at wide receiver. Could be a really weak position for him. I think this helps them. I almost had him going corner, but I am going Bateman.
Okay. Yeah, I really think that, if you're going to stick with Dalton, you got to really beef up that receiving core. So
he can't carry a team. He can't.
He can't. Not anymore. He can't. But I think if you got good weapons around him, I think it would definitely help him out. He had good weapons around him in Dallas, but I think that Bateman and, now Marquise Goodwin and Robinson, I think it could be a good trio at receiver. So if they get a quarterback in there in the next 2 seasons, this could be a dangerous Bears team, honestly. So, Yusuf, who you got for the Baltimore Ravens?
World champions this year.
Maybe
in Los Angeles.
I've been waiting for this, but I have to give the Ravens credit where credit is due. I do love how they developed their pass rushing talent. So that's why I have
lost them all. They're all gone.
That's why I have the big man, the prototype, 6'7", 265, Greg Rushu, the edge rusher from Florida, from Miami.
I really want him so bad if we can get him.
Dude, honestly, with Rushu, he's 6'7", with that length in the pass rush, and especially with the absence of Matt Jordan and Yannick Naguruchi, I believe.
Yannick Ngakoue.
I apologize.
This man knows.
Got to learn his name when he came here.
His high upside selection for the Ravens, it would be perfect. Like, that would probably give them that ability to basically contain anybody in that division. Maybe playoffs. We have to find out and see. But I feel like with that coaching that they have over there, developing that talent, that's the guy that they need to have, and he will be a next Hall of Famer for the Ravens. Mark my words.
Wow.
Okay,
that's a bold
like
claim.
That.
Yeah, we didn't make any Hall of Fame claims. I'm just like, some of my picks will make some Pro Bowls. This man is like, okay.
We can just end it right now. That's the best pick of the draft. I like that.
All right. Hey. And I hope you're right about that, buddy. We're going to be keeping an eye on him now. Just because you said that, I'm writing his name. We're circling his name. Yeah, we'll type it up. We'll do that.
Hey man, honestly,
all right.
You can't come in at 6'7". That's basketball, man. You should be playing ball. And if you come in at that height with that length, and if you can keep it up, who's going to stop it? Of course,
he's definitely got the build. I agree with you there. All right. Matt, you might like this pick a little bit less than that, and you might say why. But I got, and I hope I'm saying his last name right. I feel like a high school teacher mispronouncing all these names. Dylan Reduns, the offensive tackle out of North Dakota State.
I get it. I know why. Yeah. I get it. I'll let you explain.
Yeah. Okay. Well, just because, you know what? I'm not going to say that the Ravens have a great offensive line because they don't.
We're great at tackle, not interior.
Yeah, not interior, but you know what? A tackle. I think that they really need some help. I think it'll help Jackson because Jackson, I know I've been calling him a running back all night. I respect him as a passer. He's shown flashes of actually being a really good passing quarterback. I think that the things that he needs to work on, though, you can work on it in practice as much as you want, but in-game situations are entirely different. He still has trouble throwing on out routes. He has no problem throwing it deep, like on deep fade routes and all those things, short passes, but he has to work on his intermediate throws. I think that's a big thing that he has to work on. And I think that having a good line in front of him is going to help him develop that final skill to be a multiple time MVP. And not only that, he can decide if he wants to run or not even more, because I think that that's one thing. If a team has a scrambling quarterback, they don't put as much emphasis on building up the offensive line because they think, oh, this guy can just improvise and get out of it if, worst case scenario happens. It shouldn't have to be that way. He should decide when he wants to run the football. And I think that it would honestly make him even more dangerous than he has been in the past 3 years, maybe even more dangerous than he was in 2019 when he won the MVP.
Yeah, a right tackle might leave. Orlando Brown, he's asking for a trade because he wants to play left. So definitely a tackle makes sense. I hope he stays, but it's definitely going to be probably a need
Mhm.
sooner rather than later because he is going to leave eventually, if not this year.
Right. Yeah. See, that's what I'm saying. Like they need to keep that offensive line. They need to, kind of tear apart a little bit, but rebuild more so. So, all right. Can we all agree that we have the New Orleans Saints at number 28?
Agreed.
Yes, we're all
Okay.
back on the same page.
Okay, and what a train wreck the Saints are. Oh my God, they put all their chips on the table from 2017 to 2020. These guys, I don't know how they evaded everything that they did in the salary cap, but it bit them.
Let me get visuals.
Yeah.
It's the wallet.
Yep. It's dry. It's dry. There's a tumbleweed coming out of their wallet. It's bad. They have so many positions that need to be filled. Emmanuel Sanders gone. Like all these guys, they're going over. Is Marshawn Lattimore, Cameron Jordan, are these guys leaving? Because I don't even know.
I think Cam Jordan's under contract. I don't think Lattimore is. Lattimore needs to get paid.
Right, Lattimore needs to get paid. Janoris Jenkins is gone. Like I know so many. I'm not even mentioning Drew Brees.
Drew Brees is definitely a huge one for them.
Yeah. There is no way. I think it would have to be Jameis Winston. Sean Payton would have to perform a miracle because I don't think that Taysom Hill's the guy. I'll tell you that right now. If either of those two, I think they might go quarterback within the next few years, unless Jameis Winston, because I think Jameis Winston. I've always been a Jameis Winston fan. I didn't like him at Florida State with the whole crab legs and the assault allegations that again I'm not going to get into.
Yeah, all the problems.
Yeah, and I didn't like him in Tampa Bay, but you know what? I also think he got really disrespected in New Orleans. I like Sean Payton's very similar in Mike Tomlin, where I think he's very good at building up backup quarterbacks. So I think he's got something with Jameis Winston, who already has plenty of experience as a starting quarterback. Not a bad quarterback per se. We could all talk about the 30 interceptions that he threw. And yeah, obviously that's not something to overlook. But at the same time, I think he's a good pocket passing quarterback, like when he's getting in a rhythm and he's doing, a good job, because I think he also led the league in passing yards in 2019. So just give Jameis Winston a shot. But anyway, to the pick, obviously, like I said, Janoris Jenkins gone. They have a lot of problems, and their biggest problem is a cornerback. So that's where I got Asante Samuel Jr. going. Like I said, give Winston and Hill a chance. I think it could be a good two-headed monster. I see Hill doing a lot of read option stuff this season. More so, if this was 2009, I'd say, oh yeah, he's going to be their Wildcat guy, but nobody runs the Wildcat anymore. And basically, as far as this goes with the salary cap, they need to start somewhere. I think Samuel Jr. is a good place to start. He's got fluid hips, which is an underrated part of the game as a cornerback. This dude can move his hips around. He knows how to adjust when he's covering, which could help him out. He's a good tackler also. So you can't take that away from him, which is, you don't get a lot of guys in the secondary who can do that. Mostly it's just coverage. He's smaller than most cornerbacks, but you know what? So is his dad, and it did not lead to being a problem with him. And if Asante Samuel Senior's my teacher, well, I can't argue. I can't make a lot of arguments as to why he should not be a great addition to the New Orleans Saints.
Matt, I'll let you take over for this one. I know you've been dying to do this.
This is gonna be probably my worst pick of the draft, but I really took a big swing at this pick. And I've seen some stuff about the Saints possibly having some interest in him. I got Kyle Trask going to New Orleans. I think he's gonna be a guy they develop for a few years. They're gonna have Jameis be the starter for the next couple of years. I think they are the Green Bay Packers of this draft. I think they get Kyle Trask. I think Sean Payton wants his guy that he can develop for a couple years, have Jameis come and be the starter. But forgive me, I was tired, but I don't know why. I just think there's going to be a team that surprises everybody and gets Kyle Trask in the first round. I think it's going to be the Saints.
Fair, I suppose. I mean, I was so hated on for my Steelers pick. But that's what I said earlier. Tomlin and Peyton are very similar as far as developing, quarterbacks. So, Yusuf, who you got?
Honestly, at this point, I feel like the receiving core is going to take a massive hit, especially if you have majority of your go-to guys potentially leaving. for bigger contracts, especially like mass contracts. Like who was their go-to guy that got hurt? If you don't mind me asking,
What, the
wide
Saints?
receiver,
from wide receiver,
Michael Thomas.
Michael
Yeah.
Thomas.
Oh my God, what a train wreck he was
Bro.
this year.
He destroyed my fantasy team last year.
I told
He was my first. He was my first round pick. Absolute trash.
But I feel
had
like
Alvin
at this
Kamara.
point they're gonna look wide receiver, so that's why I have Elijah Moore at the 28 pick going to the Saints. Shows he brings a lot of explosiveness to the wide receiver depth. Is capable of making some significant contributions, especially getting the catch for Jameis Winston or Taysom Hill, who depending on whatever quarterback decides to be the starter. But I feel like this is like a go-to pick to a basically a rebuild / reload for the Saints. So I have him going 28th overall.
Oh, it's a rebuild no matter how you look at it, I think.
Yeah.
All right. Number 29. Matt, I don't know if you want to start because I'm pretty sure Yusuf, you got the Packers as well.
Well, the Packers trade with the
Packers.
Steelers. I have the Steelers drafting right now at 29. I have Najee Harris going to the Pittsburgh Steelers. They desperately need a run game. Desperately. Especially without James Conner, who wasn't even that good to begin with.
I agree.
They need to take pressure off Big Ben. They're a team that throws 70 times a game, and the defense is never thrown off by what they're going to do. They always know they're going to pass the ball. I think Najee Harris is a good back for them. Take pressure off Big Ben. Kind of build that running game. Maybe get some old linemen later on in the draft, but I think they take Najee Harris late.
I can see that. I mean, I was never. I mean, look, I feel like listening to this tonight, I've relived a lot of my like biggest mistakes in picking in the first round of my fantasy drafts because I had James Conner in 2019. Because I was like, oh, Big Ben's getting older. This guy's going to end up carrying the load. Mike Tomlin just refused to give up on Big Ben's, passing ability. And then, after he got hurt in the second game, he did the same thing with Mason Rudolph and so on. So, I mean, I can see. I think it's smart. I didn't even really consider for the Steelers to get a running back. Because I honestly kind of forgot about the whole James Conner deal that they just made to the Cardinals. But I like it. Najee, obviously I have Najee Harris. I mean, I had Najee Harris going 6th. And I know you guys thought I was pretty crazy for that. And I understand that because running backs do not go that high. And it probably won't end up happening on April 29th. But
Never know.
But I mean, he probably will end up going that late. And I like the pick. So it's not bad.
So,
all right. Yusuf, you're up.
Basically with Green Bay, honestly, the thing that honestly stopped them, especially I saw this in the NFC Championship game. I don't care, and you guys can sue me, but it was their defense. Their defense failed them. Now you can point the blame at Aaron Rodgers going 3 and out, happening 3 out of the 4 times out of those interceptions.
Horrible, and it happened in Lambeau too.
And it was in Lambeau. I feel like the defense is the go-to thing that they have to go with. And I have Jamian Davis from Kentucky going into that pick. Mostly he's an athletic linebacker, shows great athleticism, acceleration, and makes a great impact when arriving on the ball. Honestly, his true ability is to drop in coverage, which I like, especially that would halt any type of defense. And that's something I feel like they would need. So I have him going at 29 for the Green Bay Packers.
I like that. You know what? It's funny because I never really, you don't think a lot about the Packers, especially on the defensive side of the ball, because when they're talked about in the media, it's all about, and I mean, it's a lot the same with a lot of teams, but with Rodgers and, Jones and, Devontae Adams, especially, who's really been breaking out the past few years. But, yeah, I like the pick at linebacker. They haven't really had a dominant linebacker
since Clay Matthews, right?
Since Clay Matthews, you're right.
AJ Hawk was pretty good for them.
Yeah, AJ Hawk was he was definitely an above average player when it was his time. So I like the picks. I had for the Packers going number 29. Elijah Moore out of Ole Miss. We're gonna have to say it one more time. This is a deep receiving class. I like the fact that it's a deep receiving class because it really gives a lot of teams a lot of options where to go. Especially with and same thing with quarterbacks, but I mean, we're already out of those. Now we're getting to Kyle Trask. That's how deep we are into this. So
you made that pick because of the Devontae Adams situation.
I did because mainly, I mean, you can say what you want about Vonta Scantling. I'm taking nothing away from him. He had a great season last year, for what it's worth. But I think something in my mind is telling me it was like a one-hit wonder deal. Like I wouldn't have Vonta Scantling on my fantasy team like today. I wouldn't even have had him on mine in 2020. So plus you got to think of the future. Like there's like all this speculation going on. If people are talking whether or not Aaron Rodgers is going to retire as a Packer, something is telling me that he's not. Because obviously there's doubt in his mind now that, these talks are going on. I feel like he thinks he's being a little bit disrespected by the Packers organization. And I think he'll be there for a couple more years, but I don't think he'll retire a Packer. And obviously you have to think of the future. They got a quarterback last year, and I think that was a smart move by them to plan for the future. But so this is more so, this isn't just for Devontae Adams. It is for Devontae Adams, but at the same time, it's also for, was it Jordan Love they got?
Yeah.
Was that the quarterback?
Yeah, where he played at.
Yeah.
Small school he played at.
Yeah, wasn't it
it was Northwestern, or was it?
Wasn't it Nebraska?
Nevada.
No, it wasn't Nebraska. It was like a smaller school.
Was it? You're right. It was a small. Was it like it was like D1?
Nevada. It was Nevada.
I know the uniform. It's like a dark blue uniform he wore.
It could have been Nevada then, honestly. I think I think it was Nevada, Yusuf. I think you're right.
I'll look it up. Curious.
Yeah, I'm curious as well. Jordan Love.
My main thing with that is
Utah State.
Utah. Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's why.
That's right. Not a big school. Yeah.
Honestly, at this point, I understand, but it's do or die at this point. It's either they're gonna go defense and try and get a championship before Rodgers retires, or it's basically start of a rebuild, like the tip of the iceberg for a rebuild that we just don't know about.
Well, I think that we went, like, you're right. I could have gone your way. You could have gone mine as far as like, what the pick was. You're thinking, okay, let's get Rodgers the title now while he's still like a competitive quarterback. But the thing with me, that window's closing, and it's closing a lot faster than a lot of people think, because this is not the same Aaron Rodgers that we saw, like, throwing those Hail Mary passes to Richard Rodgers and Janice back in 2015. He's like, okay, he won MVP in 2020. I get that, but it was a weak, but like it wasn't a great year to win MVP, if that makes sense. Patrick Mahomes wasn't playing his best. I feel like Patrick Mahomes kind of got cheated a little bit. I think Patrick Mahomes was playing great ball. Kyler Murray was in it for a while, surprisingly, but like I said, towards the second half of the season, like people figured out his scheme a little bit more, so he fell out of it quick. But yeah, like it just wasn't a great year for quarterbacks overall, even though Rodgers won MVP. And plus he's got other ventures that he's more focused on now. He's the freaking host of Jeopardy. He's doing other things now. Like football probably isn't the biggest thing on his mind right now. So I think he's losing focus. And I think that I think eventually, like, people are going to realize that and notice, like, it's time to think to the future. Devontae Adams is still young. Let's get him a receiver to complement him so that when Jordan Love comes in, they're going to be ready. And it wouldn't hurt Aaron Rodgers to have Elijah Moore in there either. So, yeah. And plus he doesn't drop, like, I think out of 200 catchable targets he had in 2020, he only dropped 10. Which is just crazy good. And he's drawn a lot of comparisons to Cole Beasley, that runt of the litter, yet really good at what he does style. So that was my pick for number 29.
All right, Matt, you did your pick 29.
29 is the Bills, right?
That's
Packers.
Green Bay.
Yeah, I did mine.
Okay.
I did. Mine was the Steelers with the.
Okay. I understand.
Traded up.
All right, so I'll start us off spearheading the first 30th pick in the first round. You have Jason Owen, edge rusher from Penn State. Honestly, guys, like, as I'm picking edge rushers, this is
Going to the Bills though.
To the Bills.
Okay.
The Bills. This is a very, very like depth in the defense and edge rusher. Like I love the offense, but this is a defensive draft, I feel. And I feel like this is what the Bills is going to select. You're adding addition length to the depth of the edge rushers. You have the Bills not having like a long-term type of situation with the addition of Owen. So this gives you that type of stability for the next 3 or 4 years for your depth at the edge. But I feel like this would be a defensive pick for the Buffalo Bills.
I see. And you know what? We really haven't been talking a lot about how defensive, like there's a lot of D edges available in this draft. So, because we're all thinking about the receivers and the quarterbacks, but you're right. There's a lot more defensive edges that are available.
Like,
so
honestly,
but
no, go ahead.
But I'm curious though, like, do you think that the Bills have a weakness at defensive? Because like when I was looking at their draft board, they don't seem to really have a ton of weaknesses, if any, on their roster. So what made you think a defensive edge?
Honestly, it's mostly due to the fact of mostly just depth, because they kind of look like they're stacked, but next thing you know, they get one crucial injury on that defense, and then who do you have to replace them? Like I said before, I like the addition of Owe during the offseason, but I feel it's just a depth move for later on during the playoffs than more of the regular season. Plus it's like I'm assuming they're just gonna go with the best available, unless they just wow us out of nowhere and somehow trade up to the top 10. They're just going best available at this point.
I can appreciate that. Looking for just skill, best available players. Matt, who do you got at 30?
I was tempted to go defense because I know if you draft defense, you're really trying to stop Mahomes. You're trying to get that Mahomes stopper. I got him going Travis Etienne because I did not like their run game this year with Buffalo. I remember they played us. I mean, they must have thrown the ball 99% of the time. They literally could not run the ball. I know they got Zach Moss as their running back. Forget the other guy they got. I forgot his name. He fell off this year, but I know they need a running back. That's what I was talking about.
Yeah.
And I think Travis is the best running back of the draft. I don't know if they would pass on him. It's kind of like the same with the Steelers situation. Very talented defense, good team, playoff team. Obviously, Bills are a higher status than the Steelers, but I think you need that running back to take over that running game. Kind of what Kansas City did last year. I think they go Travis Etienne, who I think is the best back of the draft.
Honestly, thank you for picking him, because I told myself before I started last night writing this draft, I was going to fit Etienne somewhere in, because I'm a huge Etienne guy. I think he might actually be the best, like, all-around talented running back in this draft. I just think Najee Harris has a lot more upside, and that's the only thing. But yeah, I mean, I completely forgot to add him in there, but yeah, I mean,
I tried to fit him in this first round. I didn't want him going in the second.
I think
probably like top.
He definitely deserves better.
Yeah, so, I don't see him falling though out of the first.
Yeah, so I disrespected him. I'm ashamed, but that's okay. Mistakes were made. He'll in my world that I've created here, he'll go early second for sure. Maybe don't the Jaguars have the first pick in the second round? They do. You know what? He could go there.
That would be a good move for them.
That would be a good move.
Well, they got James Robinson. They can pair him maybe with them.
Mm-hmm. I like
possibly
it overall.
Bengals since who picked second again? Jets.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's very straightforward draft as far as the second round goes. Also, but all right. So pick 30 with the Bills. I should have put my glasses on. I feel like I mispronounced the last 8 picks. Pat Freiermuth from Penn State, tight end. There really weren't, Yusuf, we just said, there really weren't a lot of team weaknesses. It's more of a depth thing. But if there's one area of the Bills that I'm not entirely impressed with, it's got to be their tight ends. Everything else is really kind of set for them. And I mean, yeah, you could say some of their guys on the D line are getting older now, and maybe it would be smart to focus on that. but you can focus on that in later rounds. This wasn't a great draft as far as defensive linemen goes, so it's worth waiting on, playing your cards right. Go with a tight end, give Josh Allen just another weapon, as if he doesn't have enough right now with Cole Beasley, and I'm forgetting the big name. Who was it?
The corner.
I know
not Higgins. Jones?
No, it's not it.
Okay.
Bills wide receiver. He's a big name, and I can't believe I'm forgetting who he is.
Oh, Stephon Diggs?
Stephon Diggs, that's right. Super big breakout, better than any year he ever had in Minnesota. He's one of the best receivers in the NFL right now, and I think he made himself known as maybe a guy you would pick for, like, if you were picking first overall in your fantasy draft, he'd be a strong contender to be taken first.
He's the biggest miss the Ravens ever missed on. I was screaming at us to get him because he's from Maryland. That haunts me to this day. We never got.
Yeah, you know what? Maybe he could have saved Joe Flacco's career. Tisk. But I'm sure you're happy you got Lamar. So anyway, yeah. Adding a decent tight end could be a nail in a coffin in the AFC. I think that could make them a legitimate contender against the Chiefs in the AFC, because that's just the last thing that they need. He's the second best ranked tight end in the draft, according to multiple websites. So I just see them going tight end. I think that would be the best move for them. All right, 31. The Kansas City Chiefs. Yusuf, I'm going to let you go first.
Hey, man, yet again, it's going to be another edge. It's going to be Xavier Collins from Tulsa, honestly, the junior.
I'm surprised.
Only because they're going to pick linebacker, only because this man can fly across that field, man, and make that big hit where it matters the most. And it's between like Willie Gay, and Collins. The Chiefs, they'll have something really talented linebackers to develop. So I feel like they're going to try and cheat their way into like a Buccaneers type system, how the Bucs wind up kicking their ass. Just being honest. It wasn't their best day, so I feel like they're gonna take some notes from that and build up from there, and then eventually build up in the depth and later on in the drafts. But that's who I have at 31.
All right, you know what? I'm gonna have to interject there. I was gonna let Matt go second, but now I got to say something about that because I respect a lot of the picks that we've each made tonight. Yusuf, I cannot respect that. I don't know how the Chiefs can go anywhere besides the offensive line, because they were humbled by the Buccaneers in the Super Bowl this past February.
Yeah, but you also got to remember the injuries kind of took them off guard. So
the injuries did take them off guard, but they've already gone full swing into a rebuild. They got rid of Eric Fisher, who was a great lineman for them since 20. He was one of the few one of the few bright points in that 2013 draft. And that's why I got them getting Samuel Cosme, the offensive tackle out of Texas. He's got great upper body strength and athleticism. The Chiefs are stronger at guard, I think, than they were when the offseason started, but they still need better tackles. So I just think they need to fit it out because, I mean, I love Mahomes. Mahomes is, I think, by the time he retires, maybe not in terms of championship victories, but as far as statistics and individual accomplishments, I think he'll be known as the GOAT in those categories.
But the only problem is they're at pick 31, and I feel like majority of the guys that are online or that are on guard, they're all gone. So unless you're gonna look into the second round, like a lot of them, you're gonna need like at least a year or two to develop. That's my only problem with it.
I understand that, and that's something that's kind of a problem with offensive linemen. They usually take longer to develop, like when you throw them in the trenches, longer than other than other positions in the NFL. But I still think it's time to pull the trigger. I know it's late in the draft, but like they obviously know that that's their biggest problem on their team right now. Their defense, yeah, like it's not great, and I think obviously they gave up 31 points to the Bucs. But at the same time, their offensive line, they could have won that Super Bowl if their line stepped up. Because I think I looked this up. It was like a day or two after they did the statistic. I think Patrick Mahomes ran. There's a car alarm going off outside. I can hear it, and it's distracting the hell out of me. But he ran over, I think, 200 yards total, just scrambling in the backfield in the Super Bowl. So that needs to be fixed.
That's true. It all starts with the line. I agree with that.
Mm-hmm. All right, Matt, who you got at 31?
I'm also going tackle. I got Dylan Rundunce going to the I said his last name right. Going to Kansas City. Kind of the opposite of the Christian for the Colts. Really good, explosive, really good tackle. A little bit of footwork issues he needs to work on. But kind of with you, the Chiefs need an O-line. You got to protect Mahomes. I love watching him play, except when he plays against us. But you got to protect Mahomes. You got to get a tackle in there because you can't have a repeat of the Super Bowl, especially because I think Tampa is going to be back in the Super Bowl, and Kansas City is going to be a prime candidate to get back there too. So you can't have a repeat of what we saw last year because the Bucs got everybody back. So you got to protect Mahomes. $500 million man.
He is. Best quarterback in the league right now, and it's not even really a question.
No doubt.
Yeah. All right. And speaking of the Bucs, pick number 32. It's interesting because they got all 22 starters coming back.
I don't know how.
I don't know how either. I've never seen it before, and I don't think we're ever going to see it again. At least not in our lifetime. They must have pulled some kind of magic to have that to happen. But anyway,
they have to be using dark magic or something down in Tampa.
They do.
Something.
And that's why it made them so tough to pick, because like obviously they think that all their team needs are like they don't have any team needs.
It's depth. It's just depth at this point.
It really is depth, and that's basically what they're going for here. That's why I had Christian Barmore, the defensive lineman out of Alabama, because out of all the positions, I think defensive line is the oldest for them. Ndamukong Suh is 34 years old.
Yeah,
I loved watching him growing up. I love that time he kicked Matt Schaub in the balls, but those days are behind us.
Stepped on Aaron Rodgers a couple times. Detroit.
He did. I miss him getting fined all the time. Those are great days. Jason Pierre-Paul, the eight-fingered enigma. He's 32 years old.
Oh, yeah.
So I actually wrote that down to put in my notes, actually. I just wanted to use that nickname. But yeah, so they're getting older now. They're still productive, but I mean, Sue's maybe got 2 more years, I think, of a good productive football before he eventually succumbs to either retirement or just all around, like just playing past the time that he really should. And just Barmore, he's got power and versatility. He plays too high at times, which, obviously they always tell you in football, especially if you play as a lineman, you got to play lower. Like you got to play low and play lower than your opponent. But he's 6'5", so it shouldn't really be a big deal for him. And if they can fix that and make him play low, then I just don't see anybody stopping him on the offensive end. And he garners comparisons to Gerald McCoy, which is a good comparison to make if you're a defensive lineman. So I'd be proud of it. Matt, who you got?
I got Christian Barmore out of Alabama.
Excellent. We finally agree.
Finally, it was last pick because we both agreed. Salah's getting up there in age. They kind of need that defensive tackle. They're weird because it's the opposite of the Jets. They can take anybody, but it's just really because of depth. It's not because they really need it. But I'm an Alabama fan. I'm an Alabama guy. It's just a blank canvas for them. Everything besides quarterback they can take, but I have them going defensive tackle, mainly because of the age up front there.
I like it. Yep. Well, you know what? It's better late than never that we agreed on something.
Finally got it.
we got it. We got it clicking finally. I like it. All right. Hallelujah. Yusuf, who you got at 32?
Hey man,
honestly, join the trend
at 32. Honestly, it's hard to figure out what do they have to fill. At this point, everything's just depth. I was thinking
he's just a reinforcement option for everybody.
I was thinking quarterback for a long time because I don't know if Brady's trying to race for 10 or if he's
got 7 more years at least. He's gonna be here for a while.
He keeps himself healthy. That's the thing. But I'm gonna go with that young defensive core that they got, and they're gonna grab another corner with Asante Samuel Jr. And it's just depth at that point. Like he's gonna help them out. Probably complete or provide the depth for their corners, especially like their corners took a massive hit. I believe like some of their free safeties were playing corner at one point during like later on in the playoffs, I'm assuming. Correct me if I'm wrong. Put it on the comments below. But I feel like that's like a need. That's a need in the depth. Like their secondary proved that they had what it takes from the first their first starters to their second to their third.
Very young secondary, but very good.
Exactly. They're young and they're dangerous. That's what I like. And I feel like he's going to be a very good pick for them. So Samuel,
man,
32.
I like it. All right, guys. Well, 32 picks. We have been here for 3 hours.
Holy shit.
I know. You know what, though?
It wasn't bad. It wasn't bad for our first.
It wasn't bad. You know what? I think more so me and Matt, I think you did a great job. Yusuf, we were a little bit jittery at first, like within the first like 5 picks. I think we really picked it up at the end though. So, you know what? I'm excited for what we can, for like how crunch time is going to develop. And once we get Lance in here, we keep building up chemistry, making some good points. It's almost good that he wasn't here for the first one, just because if we had 4 guys, we would have been here for probably an extra hour.
I'm in pain right now, sitting on this hard chair.
Yeah,
I'm chair sitting here.
Hey man, that's why it's a special event. So
yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I forgot to bring water up here.
I got these little bottles. That's all I had, so I ran out.
Yeah, bro, but like I haven't had water in 3 hours, bro. Like I'm in pain. My throat is in pain.
So you got a big water bottle. I see you drinking like what is that? 1 gallon?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I was like, we might be here for a minute, so
Yeah.
I know everybody that's viewing this is probably tired. They're like, wow, they've been doing this for 3 hours.
Hey, mock drafts can be very tedious. Very tedious. It's probably one of the most tedious things to do in football, but I think we nailed it for the first try.
We did a good job, and we built chemistry. I can't wait to like just get into because this was more of a structured thing. When we start talking about like our just our general opinions on like sports events, like just like the NBA and the NFL and like college and certain things, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Anyway, guys, it's been a great time doing this with you. So until next week, next 2 weeks, we'll schedule something out. We'll put it up on social media on Crunch Time's Instagram, all that, the Facebook page. Until then, we'll see y'all next time.
Thanks so much. Please comment, like, and subscribe.
Indeed.